What is up there, everyone? Welcome here to another episode of Dynamic Conversations, the podcast where I chat with some very smart and interesting close friends of mine about a variety of different topics. In this episode here, I had the pleasure to sit down with my dear friend Benedikte, who is a incredible vegan cook and as well the founder of the vegan pop-up cafe, which is the first and only vegan truck in Norway. A couple of things that we will talk about here in this episode is advice that we would give both to beginning entrepreneurs, but also how to stay motivated as an entrepreneur, as you are basically the engine, the driving force when you're self-employed. And it is not always easy to be that, right? Especially during times as COVID-19, for example. But then we also talk about losing someone, as it's something that an experience that we've both had in life. Benedikte has lost her brother, I've lost my dad, and we talk about that experience and the lessons that we've learned from that experience. But as this podcast goes, it is dynamic. We also talk about open relationships, inner demons and how to deal with them, taking advice, and a very interesting calendar called the 4K Weeks poster, where you basically check a box every 4 weeks, a box of your life. So you have an overview of how many more years you have in your life. Now, as always, in the show notes, which can be found in the description of this episode, you can find all the resources that we talked about. All the people that were mentioned, all the websites, etc. Also, if you want to connect with Benedikte and check her out, you can find her Instagram and Facebook and as well her website. So all that can be found in the show notes. With that, please enjoy this dynamic conversation between Benedikte Koldingsnes and me. And I hope I didn't mess up her last name. That's kind of like the thing in Europe and having friends in different European countries. Last names can be tricky, but to make sure that it is correct, let me just let Benedikte pronounce her own last name.
Hello. All right. So my name is kind of tricky even in Norwegian, but it's basically how you write it. It's Koldingsnes. Koldingsnes. I can try.
So there you go. Enjoy this conversation between Benedikte Koldingsnes and me. From the topics that you picked and that I picked, how do you feel called? Do you want me to start with one first, or would you like to start first? It's however you want.
Well, this is your podcast, so I'm just thinking you do whatever, and then I'll...
It's fine, right? Like, if you feel called, like you want to ask the first one, then go ahead.
No, I mean, I sent you a picture.
You did?
Yes. And did you have a look at it?
I did. So I can, if you want to talk about this, I can airdrop it here in this conversation, so anyone watching can also see what we're talking about what we're talking about.
Yeah. So it's basically a screenshot of an ad that I came up on my Instagram, I think, either that or Facebook. It doesn't matter. Basically, it's a poster that you can buy, and it is like, when you look at soccer games and you tick off, like, if it's going to be a win or a lose, or even or whatever. So all these little boxes symbolizes 1 week in your life.
1 week, okay.
Right. So in this poster, you basically have X amount of weeks. Of course, I think they have like an average of 88 or 80 years.
Yeah, so they have 88 years and 100 years.
Yeah.
You can choose between those.
Yeah. So, of course, then you just kind of scribble every week you're alive, and then you scribble the box. And so the way they kind of argued for you why you should buy this poster is so that you would stop, procrastinating
Yep.
and be more efficient, and God knows, what they said this poster would do. And when I first saw the poster, I'm like, yay, I'm gonna get one of those. It's such an intriguing thing. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, do I really want to have it that graphic in my mind, or like visually in front of me in the kitchen every time I go in there, that now you only have this many weeks left, now you only have this amount of weeks left. I think for me it would be super stressful to have it like that visually, but the clock is definitely ticking. I mean, it started ticking the day I was born, but still, I mean, people really need to be reminded that visually that the time is on? And I don't know, maybe, I don't know, what do you think it would trigger you?
I have heard something similar of someone doing something similar, but just having on his watch like X amount of years set, and then a timer like going back, so like the minutes are like counting off of his life. And this is another way then, right, through a calendar. At first I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. But then also the same, like how you're describing it now, I think I would become very anxious in a way. I already feel like I'm quite not wasting time. I'm already like quite productive and trying to live my life as much as I can. So I think this will only more stress me out by having this too much in my face. But that's me. I think for some people, this could definitely be a motivator of not wasting time and trying to optimize and do more with their life. But I find it interesting.
Yeah.
I would also find it interesting to actually buy it and try it out for a year, for example, to see what it would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would just, it would add a lot of pressure onto, I think it would just add another layer of pressure and stress on me, as, the way I already live, I think, because, I mean, I know that, far back in my mind, I know about this, because, I don't really like getting older. And whenever I do, wait with something or something, I feel a little bit bad. Like I know I should really, use my time as efficient as possible, but without, being stressed out about it. So it's just, I don't know. And it was just it really triggered something in me that I didn't like, in a way. It was just like, I don't know. It's like, your time is soon up, it's just, I don't know. It was just, because I don't want to die. I mean, nobody wants to die you don't want to know. I mean, of course, this poster is not going to tell you when you're going to die. I mean, you can die tomorrow, obviously, but still, it was just, I don't know, maybe it can trigger like some sort of, I don't know, anxiety or depression in people. We know this already, but, when it's there and staring at you.
I also think that life is not only about like being productive either. And like always trying to optimize your time, because then life can feel like very much like a structure. And I do feel the same. Maybe this is a sort of what you didn't like about it, because I do feel like with this too, that life just becomes a box of things to check off. And I already have like to-do lists where I check things off. I don't need another thing to check off. And I feel like this could actually do that, where, I would focus less on the enjoyment of life and more on the productivity of life. And with that, you can't always be productive, because that's stressful and not always fun. So, I don't think I would buy it.
No, that's my conclusion as well. Like, very intrigued at first, but then like, no, I'm not gonna get it.
And I wonder how many people who would be interested in buying this, actually, because I think most people would have the same, like, first like, oh, interesting, and then they think about it and they are like, would I really want to have that in my room? Because
Like you wake up and it's like boom there.
Yeah, it's like a ticking time bomb that you can see every day ticking
Yeah.
away. And again, I think maybe for some it could be a good motivator, but I think for most it's not really gonna
Yeah.
help, I think.
No, I don't think so either. But I just it was just interesting to observe like the kind of the process I went through when
Mm.
I looked at it, and I like was first so like woo, and then like no, just going from like really positive to like really negative. And it was just nice to kind of uh, see where my thoughts were taking me and the reactions it was creating in my body. And just like yeah, it was just interesting how it kind of triggered a lot of stuff, I think.
So why was it at the beginning first interesting for you?
No, because I mean, I think because first first of all, because I've lost someone like my little brother and all that, so I
Yep.
really know that life is about being grateful and really appreciating the small things in life, and
Mm.
appreciate things that you have planned, and also appreciate things that you haven't planned,
Mm.
and all those little things that kind of make life what it is. So I'm very trying to focus on that very much in my life, to be grateful for things and kind of focus on that, especially when I have like when I can just feel I'm going back into like the really dark black hole. I'm like and
Mm.
trying to get myself back out of it by being grateful and thinking thinking positive, and also knowing that my life will end one day, and I know that,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make the most of it. So when I just think of the positive aspects of being aware and knowing that our life is going to end one day, of course it makes me really grateful. Like now, for instance, when my dog was sick last week, I was so worried.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
crying. I was like, I was absolutely devastated, because all of a sudden, boom, he was not the same dog that I've had for 10 years. All of a sudden
Mm.
he was this weak little dog that couldn't move, and he was in so much pain. And I was like, oh my god, this is the beginning of the end, kind of how our relationship has been, me and because I take him everywhere, and all of a sudden now I have to carry him when we go hiking and stuff like that. So it's all of a sudden it just became very real that my dog is getting older, and now he was in a lot of pain. So thank god we and I took him to the hospital and everything, so now he's fine again. But just like that few days just made me really realize
Mm.
shit, this is this he's getting old. And I mean, I always try to remind myself whenever I have him and I play around with him, and I try always to give him the absolute best life that I can.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just when you all of a sudden have this snapshot of what life will be now when it's getting older, and all of a sudden it's not going to be there anymore. I just that thought in itself it makes me cry.
Yeah.
So it's just so yeah. So it's just I don't know. This poster just brought up all this stuff in me, I think.
So wait, first of all, how is your dog right now?
So he's fine.
Yeah.
So the vet thought that he might have like a prolapse in his spine, like in his cord. So basically that means
How
that
did
two
that
of the
happen?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But what she said is from the x-ray that the two vertebrae, like in the middle of his back, were pretty close to each other.
Uh-huh.
So that might maybe that had created some sort of tension or like inflammation or something.
Mm.
So because he would like walk on the floor just normal, and then all of a sudden, ow, he would scream, and I was like, what? Nothing happened, because sometimes he gets his claw like attached to the carpet or something, and then it thinks it's painful, of course. But this was like nothing like that. So but I don't know if it is a prolapse, but at least now he's fine. So now he's back to normal. So I'm like, whew, I feel like I kind of got him back a little bit. That's nice.
That is really nice. So this is
Yeah.
kind of our dog here, like our family dog, right? Just turned 10 years old too, like a few weeks ago.
Mm.
But I didn't want to talk about. Well, I think you and I think I as well have had the experience of being reminded of the Well, how fast life can pass by, like with you, with your brother, with me, with my dad, then um, quite at an early age that you had that experience, right?
Yeah.
And this was actually a topic that I wanted to bring up
Okay.
as a question. So I don't know if I want to dig into it now. um, but what did I want to say here on? Yeah, okay, but it definitely serves as a reminder of like that life can pass by very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe for some people, that's why I thought maybe for some people this could be helpful when they didn't have that experience, like this calendar, right? That it
Mm.
could also do that to show that life, goes ticks away.
Mm.
But I don't know if for you and for me, because we had that experience already, it's
Yeah.
gonna be helpful because we already learned that it is like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, okay. So I get you actually with this calendar. I thought it was interesting. I think I'm actually very curious to show this to some other friends of mine to see what
Mm.
they're thinking on this, and even for people like listening, I will be actually curious what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious to ask some other friends.
All right. Sweet.
Have you shared it with anyone else?
Yes, today because I was visiting an old, beloved old neighbor of mine. She's turned 80. Oh God, 84 or something. Yeah, she's past 80 anyway.
If she would buy this calendar, 88
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's
no.
okay.
So I told her today, and I said this was going to be one of the topics that I wanted to talk
Mm,
about, and she immediately said, "I would never buy that calendar."
okay.
I mean, because she knows that she only has like, a few more brackets or kind of, what can I say, rows to fill out, obviously.
Yep.
So she was like, no, it would just make me depressed. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, me too, because she also said that she doesn't want to know kind of, I
Mm,
mean, not that this calendar is telling you, you're going to die, in 3 years, but it is still, because it's so graphic and it's so visual, you feel that once you've ticked all the boxes, what are you going to do then? I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, so she would not buy this either.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious to ask some more people.
Yeah.
Uh, but I could see most would not want to buy this.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think it will become more of a thing that you're just checking off another box
Yeah.
of something that you don't want to check off in a way.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking as well. I mean, you want to, but then also you don't want to, because then you're basically telling yourself, all right, so we can never turn back time anyway. So
Another day closer to death. All right.
yes, exactly. Hip hooray. You don't really want to think about that every day. I mean, that
Yeah.
is stressful, It's just, yeah, I really don't think it's healthy either. Like, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same.
no, yeah.
All right. Unless you want to share something more on this, of course.
No, I think it's fun. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's good.
Let me ask you one of the things that I had. Okay. And first, because this is a question before I actually will ask the actual question that I want to ask.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you need some more wife for that.
I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to, I was like,
Let
turn it
me
all the
actually,
way up.
me do the same.
But
This is not the heavy question, or the heavy, like the more personal question, I would say. So we met each other not too long ago in like maybe like 4 months ago in Bali. 4 or 5, I think, something like that. But I am surprised that I didn't ask you this question. And maybe I did. And if I did, I'm so sorry that I'm asking it again and I feel like I forgot it. But I don't think I asked it. First, so like you're a cook, you're a chef with, vegan foods. How did you start with that? Like what got you started into doing that?
All right, so well, that's a very good question in terms, because it's actually quite it's been a process. It wasn't something that I just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to become a vegan chef. It's definitely not something that I discovered overnight. First of all, I can say that, I've always been interested in eating healthy. So that's been like a kind of background thing. And then I have my education from hospitality. So I already have from, when I started my career, I already have like the interest for food and also the hospitality industry as it is, But then, I started a health coaching education or training. When was that? 6-7 years ago or something?
Yep.
And then I started working as a health coach. So then I had like clients one-to-one, and I was like, I really liked it because, we were talking about holistic health. So we were talking about not only about food, but also like, all the other things that affect our health, basically. So it was
the mind
health,
and the body kind of.
yeah, so it was like, how much they work out and how they feel, in their private life, with the relationships with, partner or whatever, and how they are at work, and of course food and all sorts of stuff, that comes into it. I really enjoy that. And at the time, I think I was vegetarian, so I'd already kind of, started eating more grain, more plant-based myself, and I really enjoyed how it made me feel. And then I was realized, all right, I really want to do this more, but I didn't really know at the time how I was going to get more clients, because I realized I'm not making enough money just doing one-to-one clients. And this, so I was thinking of doing an online course. I wish I knew you then, you could have helped me, but I didn't. So I was like struggling big time with creating an online course, and I didn't believe in myself enough for whatever reason. So it was kind of just drifting away. I just didn't believe that I would have something constructive enough to say for people to buy or whatever. That normal demon way of thinking that you're not good enough. Yeah.
It's always helpful, right?
Yeah. So then I'm like, all right, so I need to meet bigger crowds to spread the word that I'm actually doing this, and maybe then getting more clients in that sense. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to be a health coach, and I'm going to go to bigger crowds. Like, what kind of crowds is that? Like, what kind of crowds do I want to go to? And then I was thinking, all right, so if I go to like big fairs and festivals and stuff like that, then I know I can be there, I can present myself and my service to more people. So then, they get to know me. So then I was thinking, all right, so how do I want to present myself? Do I just want to have like a table and some pamphlet that I'm going to give out, or, that in a roll up? I mean, I'm just thinking, no, immediately, that's not me. So I'm not going to do that. It's way too boring. I want to do something more interesting than that. So then I was thinking, all right, so maybe I should bring some food, some samples that I, show them what I think, what I would encourage them to eat. So then I was thinking, okay, so I'm going to go to festivals and fairs, and I'm going to bring some food. And then I thought, maybe I should do like a food demo or something. That would be good. So I was like, right. So then I need some cooking equipment. I need to make some food, and I'm going to transfer this around from festival to festival. And I'm like, how, I need a car for that. Like, should I get one of those caravans? I was like, was thinking, trying to figure out how I was going to transport these things. And then I think just somewhere along, that line, I was like, oh my God, I need food. I'm going to transport it around, and I'm going to be at festivals. So I'm like, oh my God, I need a food truck, So that's how the food truck came into the picture. And then I was like, shit, who's going to do the cooking? And I'm like, oh my God, it has to be me, So then I was like, oh my God, did I just turn into a chef? So it kind of like, I forced myself into that position and into that kind of job without really realizing it and without really wanting it as such. But I was like, well, this is really what I want people to do, because I want people to look after themselves more. And I know one of the things you can do, obviously, is with your diet. So I was definitely on the path that I had chosen, which was health coaching. But all of a sudden, it just kind of like, went into food, and then I became vegan myself. So when I created the final concept for the truck, because first it was going to be healthy vegetarian food. But then I went vegan myself, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go all in and just do healthy vegan food instead, not only vegetarian. So that's really how it kind of started. And it just, it's just been crazy after that, because I freak out when I get like caterings. I have to make food for like 550 people, 5 or 4 dishes. I'm like, what? And I need, the big kitchen and all sorts of stuff. So I just had to learn this like, really, really quickly.
Damn, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's how it started.
How long do you feel like you know what you're doing? Like, how long do you feel like the food truck and that concept and all that is actually being a thing?
What do you mean? Like, what are you asking?
Like the food truck, what you're doing right now, right? And the chef part and doing that all. How long has that actually been? Like, how long have you been doing that actually?
This is my 4th year. So I've been doing it for
4 years that you've been doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. So in the beginning, I had other like proper chefs, because I never call myself a chef, because, I've never been to like cooking school for like years, so I did one training in Palma last year. So in the beginning, when I kind of freaked out a little bit, because I didn't feel that I was good enough, of course, like you always do when you embark on something new. So then I had some other chefs that cooked the food for me, because I was like, guys, I need like 20 liters of stew or like soup or whatever. And I had never cooked more than, food for like 4 people at the most. So in the beginning, I was like, okay, guys, can you help me? Can you cook, whatever meals? And they were like, sure. But then one day, one of the chefs came up to me and he goes, hey, I'm happy to help you, but you have to realize that I'm basically taking all your money, because you're not making any money now, because you are paying me to make the food for you. So you have to do this yourself. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. I mean, if you want to survive and if you actually want to make money on this, you have to start cooking this stuff yourself. And I was like, oh, really? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, fine. So after that, I started slowly doing it myself, and I, build more confidence as well. And that's also why I decided to go to that cooking school, because I basically did it for me, because I needed to feel more confident and, kind of boosting myself a little bit more. So it's been a crazy ride, and I've learned so much, and it's crazy. I can't believe I'm doing it, actually, to be honest. And, but I love it, and the people love the food, and it's a lot of fun.
So, I mean, I've seen photos of your foods, and it looks amazing, right? And I mean, probably when I'm editing this, I can show you some photos of your food, because it looks amazing, but I'm so curious actually to try it at some point.
Yeah, you should.
Do you consider yourself now like a chef? Like, would you say that you are?
I don't think I would ever say that I'm a chef as such, because I know that...
And sorry to interrupt, but like some people like the same, like calling themselves an artist. Some people really have trouble saying that, even though that they're an artist, even though that you are a chef, you're cooking. Like, I'm just curious, like, why would you, or
no, it's basically out of respect for the chefs who have had like proper training in school, and they have like papers that say that they're a chef or whatever.
But the paper doesn't equal like the fact that you're a good chef. Like, I'm sure they've gone through a good training and are able to cook great, right? But I still think if you can make amazing foods, that you're as equally without or with a paper able to call yourself a chef. That's me, of course, right?
Yeah.
I think it's more about what you do than what you learned, like by like which school or like which whatever cooking school, I think it's just what you do. And you're definitely to me a chef, actually.
Yeah, well, thank you. But no, it's just that I don't want to provoke anyone by saying it publicly or putting it on my website or something. So I say that I cook.
You're just a that you're a good cook?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that, because I think it's also difference. Maybe it's just the terminology, but I think there is a difference between being a chef and a cook. A
Okay.
chef, I think you've had like proper formal training, and if you're a cook, you basically cook food. I mean, you do what the head chef tells you to do, kind of thing. So I think that's where the difference comes in. And I don't want to trigger anyone by saying I'm a chef when I'm not. So it's also just to keeping my back clear, in the sense that there is a lot of people are very proud of their profession and their education, and I think they should be, because it is a hard job to be really good at this. But what I do notice is, though, that even though I work with and I talk to a lot of professional chefs, they don't know how to cook vegan food.
Right.
So I know I'm better at doing that compared to them, but of course they would, cook whatever else much better than me because of their training. But when it comes to this type of food, they're like, I don't know how to do it. We were never taught this stuff. And I'm like, aha, I can show you. So yeah. So I mean, I have done trainings for chefs.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I tell them is that I'm not going to teach you how to cook, because you know perfectly well how to cook food. I'm just going to show you how to cook this type of food, because when you make vegan dishes, you have to think the composition wise. You need to think a little bit differently than what you would do if you make dishes with meat. So that is really the only thing I kind of give them, like a little bit of inspiration to, like how they then compose a dish instead of the traditional way. Yeah.
How is it so much different?
Well, because you basically need, when you don't use the meat, you then use something else that will give you the filling feeling. It will give you the same nutrients, and how do you combine the different textures and the different flavors? Because as we know, I mean, meat itself doesn't taste anything. I mean, the reason why people like meat is because it's seasoned and marinated and God knows with herbs and spices. So the trick is basically to use the lentils and use the beans that you might do with chickpeas. You just treat them as they were meat. You do the same seasoning, you cook it, you bake it, you fry it, you do whatever. But it's hard for people that are not vegans to kind of realize this, because they're not used to it, So it's basically, it's just a beginner, new way of thinking. And then once you figure it out, you realize how easy it is,
Okay, I do feel I didn't ask you this question of how you started.
No, maybe not.
No, I don't think I did.
No?
But like I said in the beginning, it's only like we met each other for a couple of months, but still I'm surprised that I didn't ask, but I'm glad that I got to know now, because it's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. So the question that like the actual question that I wanted to ask, and I think like, I don't know, with like a last call that we had, like of just staying motivated as being self-employed. I kind of wanted to ask you, just do you have any tips on how to stay motivated for people? And do you also have tips for people who are just at the start of being self-employed? And I filled a few tips in too that I can share, so we can go back and forward here, so we can learn from each other too. But that was the question, actually, of how do you stay motivated, and do you have any tips as well for people starting out?
Well,
not in the field of a chef, right, or a cook, right, but just
no.
Being self-employed.
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's really important to, all right. So if they are self-employed, they are self-employed for a reason. So they have hopefully found something that they are passionate about.
Okay. Yeah.
That they, which is the main reason for why they're doing this.
Yeah.
So I think for me, at least, when I am struggling with motivation, like now with the corona and everything that has been going on, I have to say that my motivation just really kind of, went like really, I lost it almost completely. So it's just that then you just have to ask yourself, like, the big question, basically, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it's just, I want the freedom and I want to make my own money. That's one thing, but it's not really that. That is, of course, one of the main things, but you really have to go into the core of why you chose what you do.
Yeah.
Because what I find is that many, not all, but many people that do work for themselves, they have found some sort of, they are like almost value-based businesses. They work with it because it brings them some sort of meaning or some sort of value. They work from the heart, like, as we say. So I think you just have to kind of roll back, go all the way back into all the reasons and then find the core of why you're actually doing this, and really remind yourself of that. Because for me now, I'm like, now I've kind of found my motivation again. But when I was feeling a little bit lost, I was like, because I have a big vision, I have a big mission with what I do. So I was like, I don't know if I didn't ask myself this, but sometimes I'm like, do you want to let down the animals? And I'm like, no, I don't want to let down the animals. I want to, because I feel like I use my voice for them, and they will always have my voice. So if I kind of, stop doing what I'm doing, then I feel like I let the animals down, and I don't want to let them down. So that's why I kind of keep on doing what I'm doing.
All right, that's one of the things that I had here too. But I'm so happy, and you're actually one of the people for me that when I think of a person who does, what they do and have a passion around it, then you're one of the people that I think of, because I really feel like you're very passionate about what you do. And that's why, and I think that's what we also were calling about, like some weeks ago or something, that like there was someone asking me, or saying that they wanted to be an entrepreneur or self-employed to have more free time. And I was like, you are not going to have more free time when you do this. Like, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
If you want free time, you should totally go for a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And, that should not be the motivator of wanting to do that or wanting to be a digital nomad or those things. I would not recommend that to be the motivator for wanting to do something on your own, but instead do something that you want change, where you want to see change in and where you feel a passion for. Because in moments like COVID-19, like those really dark and difficult moments where you lose motivation, wanting to be a digital nomad, that motivation is not going to help you get through it. But the deep passion of what you want to make change in, that is going to help you through it. And so for the long run, you got to do something that you're passionate about. Yeah. It's not going to last.
No, because there is nobody else who's going to motivate you. I mean, what I realized is that as a self-employed, my actually biggest job is to keep myself motivated. Because nobody is going to pull me out of the bed. Nobody's going to tell me to do the accounting. Nobody's going to tell me anything. So I have to kind of do it all. Like, I'm going to be my own engine, kind of,
Yep.
And yes, it's basically one of the most important things is to manage to keep yourself motivated, because there will be struggles. God knows. I mean, Corona is one thing, but I mean, you have all sorts of other, financial issues that you need to think of. And, if you start employing people, I mean, I know that some of my friends who are entrepreneurs and they have hire people, and they say the worst thing they know about being the boss is the people that they need to manage, or like they have to manage, because once you put more people into the mix and they all have, of course, their, individual lives and feelings and drama going on, and all of a sudden you have to manage that, and you kind of lose track of when you first started out on your own, it was only you and you can do whatever, you will work way too much and sleep way too little. And then all of a sudden you have like 3 people and they all of a sudden have some drama going on at home and their kid is sick. And all of a sudden you have all this like disturbance elements, I would say, when it comes to, being productive and moving things forward. Yep. So they say that's like the worst, to have actually people working for you. So I was like, oh, that's a nice thing to know, because I've always thought, I want to have people working for me, but then I'm thinking,
But I guess it depends, right? Because I do have people working for me, and I actually love that. I actually love to manage a team. I think it's very personal. I think you might like it too, because I know that you like to do like manage things and all that. So I think you might actually enjoy it. It's not a responsibility, that's for sure. But I actually like it.
But do you have them like full-time employed?
So So I have on a freelance base. So I send them, So it's a different kind of contract, right? Than having them full-time.
Yeah.
But still, like, I am aiming this year to have part-time someone, to employ someone part-time. And I am not looking against it. Like, I already had some experience now with a freelance contract, and they also go through trouble. They also need some explanation, and I actually I like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's personal, that.
Yeah, it's just that, my dog needs to go out, so I'm just going to help him.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that Ludwig needs some attention.
Yeah, he's barking at the door going, let me out. All right, there we go. Yeah. So just give me one moment, because the sun is coming in. I mean, obviously, living in Norway, the sun never goes down in summer. So I'm just going to...
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think this could be a good moment for me to quickly go to the toilet then.
Oh yeah. All right. So we have a little session, timeout session.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead if you need to do something.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look after him. Okay.
Cool.
All right. We are back. All right.
Yep.
Yep, I'm here.
You're gone again.
Yeah, no, I'm here. It's just the sun is coming in my kitchen window now, so now I'm gonna be sitting here in the sun a little bit.
Just quickly take a photo of me taking a photo of us. That's weird. Anyway.
All
right. So let me quickly, let me also share then one of the tips that I have of beginning people, and also how to motivate. And I think this is such an essential thing that I think you will also find yourself in, and that I kind of wish that I did earlier. But it's to find a community of people who are also self-employed, who are doing like something creative or something what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Because
it is quite lonely in a way to start out. And sometimes people don't understand what you're doing, or, so it's really helpful when you're surrounded with some people that do get what you do. And like, I remember that you said in Bali that this was sort of the first time that you were feeling surrounded with people where you felt like you had a community of people.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's one way, right? Like a co-working place is a great way of finding a community. But then also something that I'm actually doing right now is, so I have a personal YouTube channel. I wouldn't call myself a YouTuber or something, but it's like, I was actually looking for other Belgian YouTubers who also have a YouTube channel. And I actually reached out to a couple of them and just asked like, hey, I have a YouTube channel too. You have one too. Could be fun to actually meet each other. And so I got, so I wanted to, I reached out to YouTubers already, but I want to reach out to people who have a podcast in Belgium as well. That's like another way, right? To just reach out to people who are doing something that you're doing or that you're interested in, and connect with them. And that's one other way. and then just going to places where there's a chance of meeting more like-minded people, like Bali, for example.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
just go to it, you have a high chance, a very, very high chance that you're going to run into some people who are also self-employed
Yeah.
and who are open-minded and just like that, right? So, but co-working place and reaching out to people like on the internet,
Mm.
wherever you are, you can do that.
Mm.
So I would actually recommend that, just because it can become really lonely in the beginning, and it certainly was for me. It's better now because I have more I have more friends now who also are self-employed, like you, for example, and so it feels less lonely now. But yeah, damn, the first couple of years definitely weren't fun in that way. And so if I could recommend something, that would be that, actually,
Yeah.
as a tip.
Good advice. I totally support you on that.
Yeah, and I think you definitely can find yourself, from what I heard when you were talking, about this, that, yeah,
Yeah.
you feel that too.
Just finding vegan people in the city. It's funny that you mention it, because I came to I've been thinking about this for a little while. Like, I would like to expand my friends here in Bergen who are vegan, because it's just so devastating to going to barbecue party after barbecue party, and I just see all this flesh and blood everywhere, and I just want to vomit, and I know that my friends don't think about it, but they put like the biggest plate of the freshly barbecued meat right in front of me, and I'm like, like, could you just, and I don't want to make a scene or anything, so I just lifted the plate and I just give it to, I'm like, hey, who wants pork chops,
Yeah.
and I just kind of move the tray away, or I physically remove myself out of the setting. Like, the other day we were at the beach and my friend started barbecuing some sausages, and the barbecue was like, the grill was right in front of my face. So I told him, like, could you just move that barbecue a little bit, because I'm getting the smell in my face. And he goes, well, this is the only way I can put it. And I'm like, and it wasn't, but I was like, okay, fine. So I just basically took Ludwig and I was like, I'm just going to go for a little walk. So I just basically went away, and obviously I wasn't going to eat anything anyway. So then I'm like, I feel so alone in that sense as well, because none of my friends, really, the ones that I hang out with the most anyway, are vegetarian or vegan. So then I made a little list, actually, with people that I now know in Bergen that are vegan or vegetarian. And it's like, wow, this list is actually getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, then I thought, I should just make my own little barbecue party and get this group of people together,
I
and
love
so they
that.
get to know
Exactly.
each other. And yeah. So now I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people.
All right, that's a party. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely a party, and they're all amazing people. So I'm like, I can't even wait to get these people together.
Yeah, and this is where, like, you shouldn't always wait, or do, if you can't find it, right, the barbecue where everyone is cooking vegan, like, then just host it yourself. That's where you got to be the change that you want to be, what you want to see in the world. And it's just about just putting in the effort in, and it's nice to see that you're actually doing that, because that's awesome. But yeah, like, I think also, like, maybe you did this already, right? But just going on the internet and looking for Norwegian people who are vegetarian or something like that, maybe not in Bergen, but just in Norway, to already connect with some. There's quite more than you might think. And maybe looking on YouTube, like, I'm pretty sure there might be a YouTube channel of someone who is vegan too, or something like that.
Definitely.
Or just more similar thinking like you. And that could be people to reach out to quite easily. And so, yeah.
I did, actually. This last week, I went to an animal sanctuary that opened here in Bergen last year. And I had the most amazing conversation and time there. And, I met the lady who runs the sanctuary. And of course, we had all these things in common. And I would like to run a sanctuary myself one day. So that's basically why I went there, because I wanted to connect with her. and it was just such a nice experience. So she's on my list as well, and it's just it's nice because definitely when I came back from Bali, I was like, I need to change something, because the path that I'm on right now is not really taking me where I want to go in terms of, exploring and have a bigger crowd around me that is more like-minded, to me. So yeah, it's definitely a good point to be the one who reaches out and actually make efforts, exposing yourself and reaching out.
And I think you more have to count on that, on you being the person to reach out than them reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Else you could wait forever. Like you're literally like waiting for someone to knock on your door.
Yeah.
While, just go and be the person yourself to knock on someone's door yourself. Like I think that's more effective, and you don't have to wait that long either. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I think I could recommend more people to do, and it's awesome to see that you're doing that too.
Yeah. Likewise.
Do you have any other things, any other motivators, any other tips that you would say? I mean, what you already shared in the first one was already a really great one.
No, I think that's basically the core. I think that's like really the essence of what the important thing is. And of course, I think, and I think also it's nice. It's important to celebrate each stage you're on in a way. I think that's it's important thing because we are so focused on having progress and reaching, doing. And it's just nice to kind of sit back and go like, wow, I actually achieved that. I actually did that, and be proud of the product and the service that you offered, and really take in the good feedback that you get from people, especially when you're feeling demotivated, then you should really go back and look at the feedback from your customers, or, look at pictures where you were having a good time and you were really enjoying yourself, and kind of like just kind of really give that good feeling a new kind of breeze of like good energy or whatever, it's just like, it's really important to kind of go back and think, wow, I did that whole event or whatever, and yeah, people loved it and made me feel good, and just think about all the stuff that you have accomplished along the way.
Yeah. And I think personally for me, sometimes that's something that I should focus more on, because I just like to also consume working on the next thing. But like you said, when you feel demotivated, it's such an awesome thing to go back and actually read those positive reviews or those positive comments, or to go back to them, because they can definitely help to show that you're doing good and that you should just continue on. So that's a good way. If I can like slide one more that I had here of tip in this, is that actually that it's going to take much longer than you think it is going to take. And I think a lot of people, kind of delay, or are like, it's just going to take 1 year for me to do this full time, or they just don't have the right, they have like an inflated idea of how long it can actually take before you full time can do something self-employed yourself. Like, because there's so many things that come with it, right? Like it literally took for me, I would say like 3 years to fully get to the point of being able to do this full time. And it took 3 years of working every day on it, like really, even the weekends, every day. It took a long time, but it's quite normal and it's quite fast actually in comparison to some other people. And I think, and mainly what I want to say with that is like, just don't delay. Like if there's something that you want to do, I would already start putting some work in it, because it's only when you start doing that you will also start figuring out how much longer it's going to take. And I think that's really important. And so that's what I would also actually say as a tip of like starting, if people who want to start out, like already start now. You don't have to do it full time, but just start putting some effort in it. And you will realize like, wow, okay, this is still
A
gonna
lot
take some
more
time.
work than what I thought.
Yeah. And I mean, there's 100 of things, right? There's hundreds of things. It's even like just the paperwork and all that kind of stuff that a lot of people don't even consider. And like paying taxes and all those things, like learning that takes time too.
Creating
And
a website and all sorts of stuff.
yeah. So that's what I would also say. Yeah. If you have something else that you want to add.
Today, I mean, like we could talk a lot about, running your own business and stuff like that. But if it just comes to the motivation stuff inside of it, I think we've covered. Yeah, and motivation wise, I would, No, I would also, I think I would, because I don't know if it comes with motivation or what, but sometimes it's something about trying to make it as smooth and easy for yourself as possible. Like if you have the chance of doing something, I'm not saying cutting corners in a way, but sometimes you can either do everything yourself or you can get somebody else to do it for you and you have to pay them a little fee because it is very overwhelming at times. I mean, we both know this. So, I mean, if you're going to do all these things, but sometimes you can just say, all right, this group of things that needs to be done, somebody else can do. So it's just basically to kind of always try and stay in some sort of balance in terms of if you have the money, for heaven's sake, pay somebody to do that they can do it for you, because that also is very draining on the motivation. If you see that I have so much work and I can never get through this, I cannot meet my deadline, and then you start stressing out. So then, whenever you have the opportunity, I think you also told me this once, whenever you have the opportunity, for heaven's sake, do it, get somebody to do it for you, because it will make you feel like you have more energy and you are more in control of the process yourself instead of being overwhelmed,
Yeah, it's like diversifying the work to not just let it all fall on you, right? If you have the financial capability to hire someone, then hire someone. It's also about not over complexifying something and going always for like making things perfect, because not to say that you shouldn't aim to make it as good as possible, but don't linger too long around making something perfect, because that's not a thing in the end. You can't make something perfect.
No.
But okay.
All right.
What is another topic that you have on your list? And how is the wine flowing for you?
It's good. I'm halfway down, so this is going to be interesting. I'm actually quite thirsty today. I'm one glass ahead of you.
Well, my bottle is sort of halfway, but I did like the small part, so.
Now we're really getting into it.
Wait, but I feel like your bottle is like less. How many milliliters is it? Because mine is
75.
Oh, 75. Damn! All right, mine too. Okay, you are ahead of me. God damn it.
So bottoms up. Bottoms up. And now actually we're going to talk about you. So now you really actually need to buckle up.
All right. I don't know, in alcohol or in water.
Yeah, like what do I do now? No, it's
right.
no, the
I'm curious.
Yes, no, I mean the next topic is a wide one, and we have talked about this before when we were in Bali. But it's such a big topic, and we didn't specifically talk about what I would like to talk about right now. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Because we talked a lot about self-love when we met in Bali with our dear friend Edith. Yep. And what I mean, and we can talk about this alone for hours, like what is it, how do we do it, and all that stuff. And we can definitely talk a little bit about that too. But my thing, what I am curious about to hear is that, because whenever I hear about self-love, it's only from a female perspective. So it's only like, are we the only ones doing this? I mean, as humans, I mean, don't guys? I never hear guys talk about loving themselves, being, self-care for men. So I was just thinking, is this really just a female concept? I mean, guys must surely do this too. Like, yes or no? And if you do, what would you do? And if you don't, why the hell not?
Yeah.
So do you guys even talk about self-love?
All right. Like, I'm now just looking at.
Of course, now you're answering, of course, on behalf of all men and the planet.
No. All right. Responsibility.
Pleasure.
I'm just looking at my friends, right, and the conversations that I have with them, and yes, we do talk about it, but I don't think we use the direct word of like self-love. I think more like self-care would be a word that we use more, or like just taking care of yourself. That's, yeah, I can't remember too many times talking about like specifically like saying the word self-love to someone, but it's actually really nice that you're bringing this up, because I feel like I should use it more. And it's, again, not like we don't talk about it, but I think we just use another vocabulary of like words to talk about that topic. But if I would think like with my friends, right, they're quite open-minded people. I would say they're very intelligent people, very smart people. They care about developing themselves, so they want to talk about this. But I do think for a majority of other guys that it is a very hard topic, a very difficult one that they don't talk a lot about. But so to say, do I talk about it? I do. I talk about it with friends, yes. Can you tell me the question again?
So if you do, so the question is, no, but basically it's just, I mean, do we live in a society where it's taboo for guys to talk about it in a way? Or, but if you guys do talk about it amongst yourselves, and maybe women are not present while you do it or something, but I mean, we read about it in magazines and we have it like everywhere. I feel like on Instagram, of course, I follow a lot of female persons. So then, of course, this is a thing that we talk about with amongst ourselves and when I meet my girlfriends and all that. So I'm just wondering if that is also a thing that you guys, like you just said, that you do. And what would self-love or self-care look like for a man?
I can't say for all men. I can say for me what it would look like. And before I answer that, I think the thing of like that you read in so many magazines, I do think that it's more dominant of a topic. Like it's more there for women than for men, for sure. Like for sure, you don't read too much about it in a magazine for guys. Maybe once in a while, right? But it's not 10 articles. It's maybe like one every year or something, right?
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Maybe, right? I don't read a lot of magazines or something, but it's just not too many times a topic, I think, that is as frequent talked about as maybe with women.
But before you go on, why is that the case, you think?
And I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. It's just that I feel that it's like that. Why? I think just it's, yeah, the emotions. It's still a thing that is harder for guys to talk about than for girls, which also equals that it's less talked about for guys than for girls. And why? I guess this is sort of like the image still, like the very old-fashioned image of like guys should not talk about, like, they should just suck it up and just, yeah, suppress their emotions kind of. And
wow.
I guess that's still a major factor. Not to say that there aren't guys talking about this, right? Because there surely are. There definitely are. And there's definitely some role models of mine who talk about this, But I think it's not the majority. And it's definitely the majority for women, I would say. And to answer like how I practice self-love, the first thing that kind of came to me on how I practice self-love is just by listening to what's going on inside and also acting on it. Like, that's to me what I would say self-love is, like listening to what's happening inside you and then also doing something about it. Like if you feel lonely, listening to that feeling, accepting that it is there, and then, okay, what can I do about it? And it's an indicator, right? You should go and have a talk with someone. And that's one example, right, of just like listening. But I think that's self-love, or that's how I like what resembles self-love for me is listening to yourself and then being there for yourself.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Not always as easy as I'm saying right now, but I definitely do try to do that as much as I can. And that's self-love for me.
Yeah, good. Nice.
But how, how is this for you? Like, what is the definition for you of like self-love? What does that mean for you? Because I think it's also something that's quite different, or can be something different for everyone.
Yeah, I think definitely it's a very individual, personal thing.
Yep.
And I think for girls, again, of course, I can only talk for myself, but when I read about this in all sorts of, wherever.
So wait, 1 second. Because it seems like you do read more about it than like that I do. But so what do you feel exactly is for girls what self-love means? But then also, what does self-love for you individually you mean? Can you answer both of those?
Yeah. Because like on a general basis, I think for most girls, what we think about when we think about self-love and self-care, it's about pampering ourselves. I think pampering is definitely something that comes up a lot.
Okay.
That we go to spa and we get treatments and we get our nails done and we get our hair or head massaged or a body massage and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think pampering and doing that, just going into letting somebody pamper us or like pamper ourselves, is definitely like laying in a bathtub, lighting the candles, is a very cliche thing, but it's definitely something that we are that comes up really fast when we talk about, today I'm going to look after myself. If I say that to my girlfriends, they're like, oh, which long way, which spa are you going to? I mean, that's like the number one kind of, or that I'm just saying that, I'm just, I'm going to lay in a bathtub and just, have the pling plong music. And they're like, oh, that's so self-care day for you. And I'm like, yeah, it is, So it's definitely about, I think it's also about stepping into that feminine energy and receiving love from not as love as in doing good to your body, as in receiving a massage or putting yourself in the beautiful warm water with all the oils and the smells and all the stuff that we like. So it's definitely about going into the feminine energy that I think many of us women miss, because our lives are so busy, and for me in particular, because as when I work for myself, it's a very go energy. So the go energy is definitely a masculine energy, while the feminine energy is about receiving, while the masculine energy is about giving. So when you work for yourself as a female, you quite quickly get into the habit of just give or go, which is a very masculine energy. So I know for myself, number one, when I'm going to look after myself, I go to the most expensive spa in the city and I just go like, do me, and I let them do like a whole rundown. And I'm like, I come out, look, my face is like a baby's bottom and my hair is, all over the place. And I'm like, woo, I had such a beautiful day, So that's definitely a big one for us. And then another big one, just to move straight over to something completely different, which is more of a mental self-care thing, and that is to say no, basically to set healthy boundaries. Because also, again, women are taught somehow that, or I don't know if maybe we even do it without even thinking, especially if you have kids, that you put yourself last. You always, prioritize everybody else, your husband, your partner, your kids, your dog, God knows. And then you always put yourself last.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever people ask you for a favor, or, you never say no, you just say yes to absolutely everything. So I know that a nice self-care thing would be, and also is, something that we talk about in magazines and God knows where, that is healthy for us to say no, to learn how to say no, and set the boundaries, and also like how we want to be treated by our partner, by our friends and our colleagues and bosses and stuff like that. And actually standing up for ourselves is definitely also a thing that would be on the self-care side of like a list or whatever.
But so how do you, like, what is the difference between self-care and self-love then?
Well, I think for me at least, self-care is the physical thing that I do with my body,
Mm-hmm.
while self-love is the way that I speak to myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's two very different things. Because
It is two different things, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because it doesn't matter if I go to the spa and I lay there and I say negative things to myself, making myself feel bad. It doesn't matter. I have to do to have it to be a full effect of what you're actually doing. You need to do the self-love, the way that you speak to yourself, in addition to getting your body massage or whatever. So it's
self-love and self-care go intertwined together though.
Yes. And I think for maximum effect, you need to kind of bring both with you into whatever it is that you're doing, and it's just so surprising when I talk to women about stuff. And it was just, I was just having a conversation with a woman last weekend, and she's very competitive. Like she's always competing with guys, and he always wants to be best and everything. And she knows this, so she makes fun of herself because she knows she's very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this trail here, which is a lot of steps going up and up. And whenever you go these steps, you always time yourself, because it's like a competition that everybody has with either ourselves or with like the city that is, the best time up those stairs. It's like then you're really fit. And we were talking about this stairs and this trail, and she was like, "Oh, I just want to go there, and not feel bad and go there and without timing myself." And I'm like, "But why is this so hard?" And then, the conversation was going on for a long time. And then, the point was that if she timed herself and if she wasn't happy with the time that she got, she would really down, because she wasn't fit enough. Everybody else was going past her. She was fat, or, giving herself all this shit. And I was like, but isn't it possible to go up there and, just say to yourself, this is how my shape is, like, this is how I'm feeling today. So today I spent 3 more minutes than what I would do in a better day, And it was just surprising how mean she would be to herself, beating herself up so badly for something that is so completely stupid in a way, because it doesn't mean anything, It's just a staircase. You can just do it, whatever, But it was just, and then I just started realizing, shit, we are so hard on ourselves, and we really, really need to start working on the way that we speak to each other, or to ourselves rather. So I'm just thinking, is this a thing that guys, obviously you guys must do this too, say bad things to yourself,
Of course.
But do you talk about this, that you is this an awareness around this, that you talk about this stuff? Or
there is, but I think, like I said, I think we just use another vocabulary of words to talk about it, and just saying like self-love. Let's talk about self-love. But not to say that we don't use that word, but I think we just use different, or at least in my friend group, I feel like we just use different words to get to the same in the end. But it's more like, taking care of yourself, the internal dialogue that you have with yourself, the voice that it is. And so we do have that. But I do think the friends that I have is not the standard kind of guys, like in a way that most, I think, don't talk about this at all.
No.
Like
I've never heard many of my friends say this.
I'm quite sure, like quite sure. Like I do think more like an 80% of guys in general do not talk about this. Or not as frequent as it should be, at least. That's for sure. But like I'm sort of feel like I'm more in the 20% of the guys who are more open-minded, more wanting to develop themselves and you know, who see the value of it, that do talk about
because
this.
because if you look at the stats for suicide rates for guys, for instance, sky high. I mean, you guys are like on the top. So I'm like, this
We're winning
should be on. It's horrible, and it's definitely something I think should be talked more about, because we talk about it a lot. And I mean, I'm not saying that women are not, in a miserable state of mind a lot of the time. Are definitely, for sure. And maybe we do it more. I feel that women are more hard on ourselves than guys. It could be only because I have this impression because we talk about it more. And so I hope guys are not as hard on themselves, because whenever I say how I talk to myself sometimes to guys, they are like, what? No, and then you guys are more like somehow black and white in a way. I mean, it doesn't sound to me that you are as strict on yourself and hard on yourself as we are. But just basic, your perception of life and how you do things. Like, if you can't do anything about it, forget it, while we would go like on and on and on about stuff, And whenever I say something that's bothering me to my male friends, they're like, hey, you can't do anything about it. Leave it, let's move on and talk, think about something else more positive. And I'm like, how can you just drop something like that? And I'm like, yeah, but you can't do anything about it. And I'm like, but still, it's going on and on in my mind. So it seems like guys have a different set. The way that you think is different. So you don't nag so much about that stuff. It seems to me. I mean, obviously I don't know this because I don't have a male brain, but sometimes I wish I did.
But I think this could be the part where you like that guys are more like solution orientated.
Yeah.
So they try to more focus. Okay, like what can we do about this? Exactly. And again, I can't speak for all guys, right? But I think for a majority, they're more like, okay, can we do something about this? Yes or no? Yes. All right. Well, what? No. Okay. Then let's just deal with it then, like that way. And I think and I do feel like with women that they have more like a beauty image that they have to reach. So I think there's more pressure on that than with guys. And that could be one other reason of why their internal dialogue is more like negative, because they have more things to compare themselves to. Like, how many Instagram models, are there not? Like, there's so many of women, right?
Yeah.
And that's quite toxic. Like, comparison in general is quite toxic, but then also like the body and like, So I think there's more things for women to compare themselves to, and I think that's where the conversation just keeps feeding itself from. There's more.
Yeah.
But of course, guys think negative, of course, too. And another thing that they might not always say, that they might just say like, I don't think about it, while they might actually think about it. That could be also a thing, right? So it's a couple of things. It's never just it's never just one straight answer. It's more complicated always, but yeah, it's hard. I can only speak for myself in the end.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, but it's
But so how would you then define like self-love for yourself?
Okay, so this is actually quite interesting, because when I was in Bali and I had all these conversations with our friend Edith about this, then I all of a sudden figured out a way, like a tool for myself that I haven't really thought about before. And I was really surprised when I discovered it. And I'm like, why didn't I think about this before? and I think like, I have to use my dog as an example because I don't have children. Again,
Where's Ludwig? Where is he?
Now I let him out to go up to my parents, so he's fine. He's taken care of. So it's because again, I can be really hard on myself, and of course that is not a good thing. I mean, it's it's good in the sense that I push myself, but at some point it's not really constructive anymore. It reached the it's being constructive, and then it's just it's just depleting and horrible.
It's like the thing with getting drunk. At some point you're drunk, but then you just keep drinking. You don't get up. You just go down.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. So then I realized that whenever I, so I have to say this only for me. So when I start in the downward kind of spiral, when the darkness is coming and I call it the wolves are starting to dance in my head, I very easily then start picking up really bad habits in terms of stuff that is not good for me. Either I would start smoking, or I would eat some junk food, or I would not go hiking, which I know I normally would, but then I'm not going to do that. I start procrastinating, doing stuff that's not really healthy and helpful for me. And then of course I would say really bad things to myself, like, you're useless, now you're being lazy, and you're stubborn, and you're all this, I'm not good enough, and all that stuff, And then I just came to realize that, whenever I get all these thought patterns and habits that I all of a sudden start picking up again, I have to ask myself, would you recommend Ludwig to take a cigarette right now? Like, would you recommend him going, to McDonald's and have a shitty meal, or would you recommend him to do this? And of course, then my answer would be no. And then I'm more like, so what would you recommend him do right now? And then whenever I say bad stuff to myself, like, would you ever say this sentence to him? And my answer is always like, God, no. And then I'm like, so I started like this dialogue with myself, and then I ask myself, so what would you say to him then? And I would say the sweetest things ever, but it comes so easily when I imagine that I'm speaking to him, or if I was a mother, I think I would do the same with the child. Yeah. So then I'm just I give myself self-love, because it comes so naturally and so easy when I think of somebody else, and then I just have to kind of flip the mirror and then, speak to myself like that instead. And it's been so useful, and it's so simple, and it's amazing to feel that shift, from being like, oh, you're so stupid and you're not good at this, and what do you think you are, and all that stuff. And then going, hey, stop it. You would never say this, Ludwig. What would you say to him? And like, okay, you're just having a bad day, go and watch Netflix and go to bed, And then I think it is just such a different way of, I don't know, experiencing what's going on. And it's absolutely amazing. So I'm so happy I figured this out.
That is such an amazing tool to... when you're going through something difficult, to talk instead of, how would you exactly respond to a good friend of yours on how they basically approach what you're going through. And many times the voice gets softer to your best friend, or to Ludwig in this case, and it will be to you. But it's not helpful to have such a harsh voice at all, right? So that soft voice most of the time is the one that can bring the real change. So that's a really great tool. And it's good that you're sharing that actually too.
Thank you.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like you're sometimes very, very harsh on yourself, actually.
I am. It's horrible, And I wonder, sometimes I really wonder, where does it come from? Because I can't really remember anybody saying this to me at any time. So I'm just like, and this is more like also like a general question, like, where does all this shit that we tell ourselves, where did it actually come from? Because it sounds like it's accumulated over years, that maybe somebody said like something, maybe something that was resembled it, or maybe somebody said something to someone else and you overheard, or maybe your mom said to your father, or opposite, or two friends said it to each other, and then it seems like you're like a little sponge and you kind of suck it in, and all of a sudden it becomes your own demon, like your inner talk somehow. It's kind of fascinating how, because nobody ever told me the things that I tell myself, as I can remember at least.
I mean, this kind of has to do with like self-esteem and kind of hate. Like, how do you think of yourself in general? And like, if you have to be like truly honest, right? And that can be super difficult, right, to say.
Yeah.
But like,
are you asking me, or are you is like a hypothetical?
No, I'm asking you.
Ooh, oh shit.
I know.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
in general, do you think most of the time good of yourself, or are you most of the time very harsh on yourself?
I think it's a good 50-50, to be honest. Maybe a little bit more on the positive side, but definitely I have some some stuff that I'm annoyed about by myself. And it's sorry, because I'm aware of my flaws, and then and so whenever things are not working out the way that I want, or when I feel like I'm stuck, I'm like hitting my head against the wall, this always comes up like, yeah, but it's because you don't do anything about these things, you know? Why don't you do things about, you know, why don't you change this kind of thing? So it's more like I'm more like, come on, get over yourself, you know, start doing something about this. And then I'm like, but I can't do it, it's so hard. So I'm having more like an argument with myself, more than, I'm not saying that, but you're not good, or I'm not that harsh. But I'm definitely feel like I put a hammer in my head sometimes, going like, you know, why are you the way that you are when I feel insecure about something, you know?
I mean, these kind of thoughts can come from a variety of different things. But you're very self-criticizing on yourself. So it means that somewhere in the past, maybe you felt like you were letting someone down. And maybe it was in school. Maybe it was your parents. Maybe your brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have enough information, I think, to say something on this. But it definitely came somewhere from the press, right? On not being enough for something or for someone. And it could be a variety of different people, right? That, you know, came, you know, build it up on why you're thinking this of yourself. Yeah.
But it's interesting though to see, like, to kind of listen to it. And also, this is one thing also I want to add to this, because I remember when we had a conversation about this in Bali. The last night we were in Changu together, we had a conversation about this, and I and I asked both you and Edith what you guys, so like when the demons are telling you to do whatever stuff they want you to do, or like, as in, not saying that that you're schizophrenic or anything, but it's more like when you're realizing that you have a shitstorm going on in your mind, what do you do when you kind of play along with it in a way, you know? And we had this conversation, and I and I think also for me, sometimes, I don't know if this comes in as self-love, but sometimes just accepting those thoughts and saying like, right, okay, here we go again. Okay, Mr. Wolf, what are you trying to tell me? Because it's very often my ego or something trying to protect me from something, you know, trying to protect me from getting hurt or doing a mistake, you know, making a fool of myself, or, you know, trying to protect me somehow. So that's where the ego and the kind of wolf comes in and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, because on the other side, if you fuck up, this is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. So sometimes I think as part of a self-love routine is just acknowledging that voice and just listening to it.
Yep.
And saying, all right, hello, Mr. Wolf, I hear you. All right, so get your shit out. And then once you can't come up with anything more, and go like, are you done now? Okay, I'm gonna, and either if that is, going to McDonald's or having a cigarette, you sit down and then I have the cigarette and then I have it and I feel like shit. And then I'm like, all right, you feel better now? Like, are you done now? And I'm like, oh, okay. So that was 10 minutes of pure being like, oh, feeling sorry for myself and going through that shitstorm. But it's still very important to acknowledge it, because it's trying to tell you something.
Yep. So the best way to approach this, because when you do go to McDonald's, when you do take that cigarette, you're actually running away in a way, right? The best way to kind of handle this, it's not easy, right? But it's actually, before you run away, to just literally go and sit down and just listen to what's happening. And it's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be painful, right? Like all those emotions, what you're feeling. It's not easy, but it's the best way to approach this, to just sit down and just really listen from an observative point. What's happening? Because like you said, emotions, negative, positive, they're indicators. They're signals of change. They want to signal something to you of what needs to happen. And with negative ones, it's, change, right? With positive ones, it's just like, you should do this more. But if you don't listen to them and you run away, you go have McDonald's, you go and have a cigarette, you run away from them and you don't receive the signal that they're trying to signal to you and the message that they're trying to communicate. And so the way to receive it is just to sit down. And again, it's really hard. It's easy to say now, but it's hard to do this. But it is the approach, to sit down, be in the present, and listen, not judge, listen, and see what your emotions are trying to say to you. And then from there on, you have the information to react in what needs to happen. And
it was just interesting though when I brought up this concept of accepting it, because I don't know if either you guys didn't understand what I meant, or maybe I didn't explain it properly, but both of you were like, no, you should try and do all this like maneuvers to kind of get away from the thoughts. And I was like, no, but that's not what I'm trying to say. You were like, oh yeah, you should, because I asked you how do you handle when your wolves are taking over in your head? And you were like, I would go for a run, and Edith would say something else and she would do this and that. And I'm like, no, but what are you actually doing when you're playing along with them? And you were like, you shouldn't play along. And I'm like, no, but that's like, it didn't at the time. I mean, we were all a little bit drunk and all that. So, and maybe I didn't explain it properly. So, and I just didn't feel like accepting wolves were a bit a thing that you would even consider. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That maybe something that is new to both of you, or is it something that, I don't know, it's it was just it was interesting to see your reaction, because both of you immediately jumped on how to kind of get away from the situation, how to get out of the situation. And it was just like really interesting to observe your reaction when I was kind of laying out the concept of accepting it.
So the answer that I said now, or my reaction, was this the one that you feel more like, that you resonate more with than the one that I gave back then?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But it sounds like you understand a bit more what I'm trying to, the concept itself. While there it was more, no, I how to handle the demons more than accepting them, kind of,
Yeah. So I mean, I remember actually now again where we were in Bali.
Yeah.
We were on the beach. Yeah, and I was quite drunk. So, like, that answer, what I gave back then, it's not a great answer. Not in a way, like it's a way to cope with it, but it's not a way to fix it. And yeah, I gave an answer to cope with it. But to fix it, to really understand it so you can fix it, right, is to sit with it and to really listen to what's happening inside. Those other ways of like going for a run, I can't remember exactly what I said, but are more ways of kind of like reducing the voice and kind of running away from them, right? And it's a more healthy way than going for McDonald's or a smoke. But it's not in the end gonna fix, because that voice, those demons, you can't leave demons. Yeah, if you don't give them a place, they're gonna keep coming back. And that's with so many things in life, like a trauma, for example, as well. If you don't heal it, it's gonna keep coming back in a way, right? So, but it's quite surprising how much just the present, being in the present and truly listening, and this sounds kind of so simple in a way, right? But how much that can actually resolve, because you can hear, you listen to those demons and what they're trying to tell you. And so going for a run, if I said that, yeah, no, don't do it. Well, don't do it if you don't want to. Don't do it if you want to fix it. Yeah. If you want some quick way to reduce the voice, then yeah, do that. But if you want to fix it, then listen to them. And truly take your time. Don't just listen for a minute. Don't listen for 5 minutes. Listen for half an hour or an hour. Just listen. And again, hard, because a lot of people don't want to sit down and listen.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, it was just, I think my initial question back then was, I wanted to hear like what you do when you know that you are doing something destructive to yourself, you know, in a way. So yeah, because I asked Edith this question again later on, and I was like, so what do you do when you just
that evening?
No, later on at some point, I don't know when it was, but because I didn't feel like any of you kind of actually
understood you.
No, but you didn't actually. I didn't feel that you actually understood the question and therefore didn't answer it. So I was really trying to kind of like, I want to know like what is your thing, because I know what my things are, and it's something that of course I'm not proud of, but I'm still willing to admit that I do them. Yep. Because I know, like, when I have a cigarette, I know what I'm actually doing. I'm not sitting there like oblivious.
You're
I know
self-aware.
that what I'm trying to is like, I know it's a destructive pattern. So I asked her again, and I think it came down to like, yeah, she would eat cookies, or she would eat something sweet. So she would go for the food destructive pattern or whatever that she had. She would go for something that she knew she didn't really should eat or whatever. And I know my thing is I would have a cigarette. So yeah, so
are you asking what my thing is?
Yeah. So what are you doing when you know you're doing something destructive?
But like destructive in like which, like, well, yeah, to yourself.
I know this is a very personal one, so.
Yeah, no, I don't mind if it's personal. I'm just really thinking now of, and for sure, like, I could think of like self-destructive, like, I do have many times also like quite a harsh voice inside me that is pushing a lot. Yeah, I do have that voice quite often. And it helps as a way to motivate. But sometimes it definitely gives me sleepless nights because I feel stressed because I should work and do things instead of sleep.
It's telling you that you're lazy or something.
Yeah, also, yeah. And that's why I do have sometimes a hard time to take a break, like to watch a Netflix series and be okay with that, because I feel like I'm not contributing to the world. I'm being lazy, exactly. So that voice is definitely one that's there at times. And how do I cope with it? Actually, and I am in the process of learning to cope with that voice too. If I would be very honest. But I am, like I said, sitting down with it and listening to it of what it's trying to tell me. That's one. But then also sometimes like people that I look up to, and just Googling what they do and the internal dialogue that they have and what is helping them, and learning that it's quite human to take breaks and that it's quite healthy to take breaks. And I don't want to cast like a wrong impression that I always do that, right? Because I really love what I do. I really feel like I'm contributing something to the world with it, and I really care a lot about it. But sometimes it can be too much too, right? But like just understanding just where that is coming from, that voice, and it's I'm more and more trying to just sit with it and listen to it. And so meditating, for example, is definitely one way to just sit with yourself. And I can just say what is helping me now, right, to go better with it. And it's being less dominating now over the last few months, that voice. But it used to be quite a lot there. But so it's less there because I do am meditating more. I am sitting more with myself when that is coming up. So yeah, that's how I am slowly kind of coping more with it, by just listening and then figuring out like, okay, why do I feel like I should always do this? Should always work. And that's where you can then continue working on. And that's what I'm doing now too.
So yeah, so you are a kind of workaholic. Like I busted you on in Bali already. I was like, you're working way too much. You were like, no, I like what I do, and I'm like, yeah, but you need to take a fucking break.
I know, but yeah, but you know.
So maybe what you do instead of going to McDonald's or having a cigarette, you sit down and you work.
Yes, and
maybe that's your Achilles. Yeah, maybe that's your Achilles. You work instead of going to McDonald's and having a nasty veggie burger. You work.
But it kind of hurts when someone calls me a workaholic.
Yeah,
and I don't. I know. No, and I know that you don't mean it in that way, because it's sort of this love and hate. Hate is not the right, but like I love what I do, but it's easy to overdo it and not take any breaks and not sort of enjoy life around me, right?
Party or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, right? I could totally do this so much more than I do at the moment. Not like I don't do it, not like I don't go on trips, like I totally do that too. But I am more planning those things, because I feel like, okay, I could totally plan more trips in, because I don't do that too much in the end. So I totally could do it more. Like, where was I going with this?
That would be your self-love thing, taking more breaks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's true. Actually, yeah. Taking breaks from that. But being a workaholic can be sometimes, it's sort of like the same like being like reading a book. It can be a very easy procrastination, where you could be like, oh, but I'm reading a book, it's okay, it's like I'm working on something, I'm developing something. And with work it can be the same, like, oh, but it's okay, I'm working, I'm building further, but there's always an extreme. Any extreme is unhealthy, and I do catch myself going to the extreme of work times, and it's hard to.
I'm happy to hear you say that, because I was a bit worried. Like, does he not see this? I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's hard to admit, but it's definitely an extreme. Yeah, and it's more than acceptable extreme, because it's something that quite some people do, right?
Yeah.
And it's more easily to see it in other people, to see that it's not healthy in them than it is in you with everything, right?
Yes.
So it is a hard thing to admit, but it is true that I do at times overdo it at, and that I could slow down. And even if I would slow down, I would still work a lot. But it's the
Exactly.
realization, and it's sort of like when you're used to like driving in like gear 20 and you all of a sudden have to slow down to gear 14. It feels much slower when most people might be driving in gear 6.
Exactly.
You're still driving much faster, but it's still slower than what you're used to. And yes, it's the thing that I'm working on.
I'm glad to hear.
And I'm actually truly like I said, I don't want to come into repeat now, but like by listening to that voice, what is it trying to feed when I'm working, when I'm overworking? What am I trying to feed by that? And that's self-love actually by being okay. It's okay to work a bit less.
Yeah, you're not lazy just because you're not on like whoa all the time. Yeah.
But it's harder to put more tips on that when I'm in the sort of process, I would say, in it myself. So I can only share what is helping.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Now I really want to remember when we talked a little bit about being avoidant before on the
Being
last
what?
conversation. Avoidant.
Avoidant.
Yeah, we talked about attachment styles and and stuff like that. And because I feel like sometimes people who are, dismissive, avoidance, or like don't have that secure relationship style towards people or whoever, that they then use all these distractions to kind of stay in that avoidance mode in a way. So I think that would be definitely a whole new world to kind of explore when we are why do you like right now we're talking about why do you keep on working so much, are you trying to avoid something and that kind of like
avoids or proof can be also a thing, right?
Sorry,
avoiding or proving something could be also a thing.
Proving something to yourself, you mean, or
to yourself or to others? I'm not saying for me now, right? But sometimes people do overwork or keep working because they want to prove something to someone that they are worthy enough. And many times it has to do with self-esteem, actually.
Saying that you're good enough, that you are worthy of love because you have achieved all these things,
and comparisons, like it's a thing for almost everyone, especially these days.
It's a huge topic.
It is a huge topic, and it's a hard topic for people to admit. For women to admit that they compare themselves to other bodies of other women. For men to admit, like with muscles or like, and with work and there's so many topics of comparison, right? But people do it, and these days more than ever, and it's really toxic. It's really toxic.
Yeah, you shouldn't do it.
No, but it's tough. It's really tough to do that. Yeah.
All right.
So to make things more dynamic again, let me ask you a question, and I don't want to move away unless if you had to add something more, or
Hang on. No. I'm just gonna put some. I'm just gonna plug you in again. I'm not moving. I'm not leaving.
You had enough of this conversation.
Yeah. Like, all right, I'm out of here. Bye. No. All right. Shoot.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, and I wished I had more lighter one first, but it's Oh, I do actually. Well, no, I don't. Let me ask this one first before I ask the more personal one.
Woo!
Let me ask this one first, right? This is just a question that I wonder about. So Tim Ferriss, I think I dropped the name with you before, but it's a person that I really look up to. But this is a question that he often asks in his podcast too. And I thought it was a really interesting question that I would like to ask you as well.
Okay.
So what is a past failure or a hard time? And I maybe customized the question a little bit. But so what is a past failure or hard time that set you up for a future success?
So that means that the success has already happened.
So something that in the past happened that was a failure, or
Yeah.
something in the past that was a really tough time, that in
Yeah.
the end now ended up being a success. Something that you would have never thought would have led to this. Could be with your business, could be in your personal life. You know.
Yeah, I have I have two. Well, actually more than
No,
two.
you
But
can only share one.
I can only share one. Okay, that's fine.
No, go ahead. You can totally share. Any
Yeah.
that you have.
No, but it's like it's in personally for the personal example, they are definitely something that has been repeating itself for years that I finally have managed to break in a way.
Okay.
That's one thing. But when I can do this, tell the business example first, maybe, because setting up my own business, this is my second attempt. So the first attempt I had, I failed.
All right.
Yeah. So then I'm not going to give you the whole long story, but the conclusion of the failure back then is that I wasn't prepared for it. Basically, I mean when I sit now and think back at what went wrong, is that I wasn't. God, my mom.
You're so busy.
Sorry about
You're
this.
so busy over there.
Hello?
I go to the toilet.
Yeah. All right, so we have to backtrack a little bit. we have to backtrack a little bit.
Oh, a little.
Failure? Yeah.
A little bit, but I can cut this quite cleanly.
Okay.
So you were saying something.
Yeah. No, when what I have learned from my previous fuck up, or that you didn't say fuck up, you had something much more diplomatic word. What was that?
That is the
yes.
Yes.
I just
so your past attempts to become self-employed didn't work out.
Yeah. No, it didn't work out. Yeah. So I realized that basically fuck up sounds better. It's more honest. It's more real.
It is more real, that's true.
Failure is so diplomatic, it's so fluffy. No, but I'm happy that I didn't succeed, in the sense that I realized that I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I wasn't structured enough. I didn't have enough belief in myself. I hadn't really thought through enough things, basically, which became very clear as I went along, and which is why it failed.
Yep.
So now at my second attempt, I knew much more, and I was very much more like clear in my mind what sort of stuff I needed to have taken care of. And also, but it's definitely also much more of a feeling that I was mentally prepared for it, and I had grown in these years that I then went back to a 8 to 4 kind of job. So I felt much more prepared for it. Just basically, I believed that what I'm presenting to the world right now, I believe in 100%.
Yeah.
I believe that I'm capable of doing this. I know that the market is going to accept it. And I didn't know I was going to make any money on it, but I just believed in the concept 100%. Well, before I believed in it, but I still had lots of doubts if I was going to be able to pull it through. And I didn't see how I was going to pull it through. While now I had a very clear strategy, or a very clear vision of how I was going to be able to pull it through. I mean, I didn't know if I would succeed, but at least I saw what I needed to do very, very clearly, whilst before I didn't. So it definitely helped me in succeeding this time, I'd say.
I think that's a good thing that you said, because a lot of people think that you have to do, like, the first time will always, like, that you can't have more than one attempt. And it's kind of the same like we're going for your driving license. Most people don't succeed the first time in getting their driving license, like the practical one, right? It's quite common, in the business to kind of fuck up, like you said, the first time, because and it's quite so it's quite needed in a way to then really learn what you have to do make it work. And actually, for me, it was the same. Like the first attempt that I went officially self-employed, it just didn't work out, and so I had to stop it, and then take a year to really figure it out, and then do it again the year after.
But were you trying to do the same thing that you were doing now, or were you trying to do something else?
Yeah, so it's so complicated to explain the whole journey, because it really was just a journey. Like, I knew the concept of what I wanted to build, like in my head, but I didn't. It's sort of like I knew, like I had the feelings inside, but I didn't have the words to explain it. And so the same there, I knew the concept, but I didn't know exactly how it was gonna be built out in the real world. And so it took really a couple of years, like 3 years, before I really figured that out, with a lot of trial and error, before I got where it is now. And so the first time just failed miserably in a way that I wasn't able to sustain it financially. So I just had to cut it off, like the self-employment status, because you have to pay so much money here in Belgium for just having that status. But then it helped in a way to think more. It helped just on the journey of the filtering out and the process of getting to where it is now. I think for quite some people, the first attempt is not the finished one.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah,
I always hear like, oh no, I tried, I had an attempt, I had a go at this, a couple of years ago, it didn't work out, whatever. But I think one of the key things is some sort of belief in yourself also, that is something that is absolutely fundamental to succeed. You really need to believe that you can actually pull this off, and that this is so important that it really belongs in the world as a product or a service. You really need to believe it 100% yourself, because you have to argue this, surprisingly enough, 1,000,000 times to your best friends, to your parents, to your grandparents, to everyone you think automatically would support you, who don't. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to give up your secure job, your secure income, whatever, because they are only focused on security, while you're going to go and explore something on an adventure that is completely not secure whatsoever. And they all are like, that was one of the biggest surprises I got from my life, was that when I was like when I was explaining to people that I wanted to do this, and many of them were like supporting, and they're like, yeah, you go. But a lot of them were like, but how are you going to pull this off? I mean, they could not see. I mean, they were like definitely pulling me back into like, you have to do what's secure, what's safe, and just really really pushing that security button, like that doubt button in me a lot. And even now, when I've been like doubting if I should continue, and I've been struggling, and I mean, it happened even last year too. I was telling my friends about it, and I was like, guys, I don't know if I should do this anymore, because I'm tired. I'm not making that much money. I'm blah blah blah, and all of them pretty much, except for maybe a few, were like, yeah, you should quit. You should go back to having a 8 to 4 job. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, you shouldn't say this. You should say you should go for it. Work a little bit harder, do a little bit different things, do whatever. Don't tell me to stop. You have to tell me to keep on going, because that's what I need to hear. I don't need you to press the insecurity button that I have even further in. You should say, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Go on, keep on doing what you're doing. So and then I was like, I should stop taking advice from people, because they only give advice, a very
Yeah.
personal advice, and it's not objective whatsoever. They are not thinking of my best. They're thinking of their best, or like at least in their world and their perspective.
Yep.
So that's actually one of the biggest, if anybody asks me to give a new entrepreneur some advice, never listen to anybody in terms of the ones who are trying to pull you back and say, this is not secure, this is not safe, or financially, whatever. Because they are just saying their own insecurities. It's nothing to do with you, It's just mind-blowing when you realize these things. I'm like, I thought you were on my side. And like, yeah, but we want you to be able to pay your bills. And I'm like, yes, but I have a heart and I have a mission here. You have to help me achieve it, and not tell me to pay my bills, for fuck's sake. I can pay my bills, but I want to have more, that's like.
So, I mean, they're giving the best advice that they can give to you in their world.
Yeah.
But like you said, you, for example, should not take cooking advice from me, because I am totally not an experience. I have no experience in there. So I think it's important to take advice from only people who have real experience in what they're giving advice in.
Yeah.
And it's always good to question, like, have you done this? Do you know what you're talking about? Yeah. It's always good to first ask that before taking the advice really in. Because there's quite a lot of people who just give advice with no experience, but just because that's what they think, what they feel. And it could be correct, right? But it's better to draw from experience from someone who knows what they're talking about. Yeah. And to go on that more and to take your conclusion from that. So that's what I do as well. I take very, very little people advice unless that I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Good.
So I like your answer on your failure, hard time, and how it turned into a success. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other questions or any other topic that you had on your list before I ask my final one?
All right. So I have one last topic, but I don't know if you want to move on with yours, because what I'm going to talk about now is very different to anything that we have talked about before.
But that's the point.
Okay. All right.
Make it dynamic.
Really? All right. So no. I mean, I already prepared you that, my focus for this conversation is all about being, personal, and it's not so much, professional as such. So, and we have touched upon this topic a little bit before in some previous conversations, but I would like to talk about it a little bit more, because I feel like I'm not done with it yet. Do you know what do you have like a vague idea of what it could be?
We have talked about it, but you're not done with it yet. So it's quite a big topic.
Discovering new things.
Well, it could be about
a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, yes, but it could be about your brother.
Nope.
Then nope. I do not. Then I would like to be surprised.
All right. So it is the concept of open relationships.
Aha. Oh yeah, we just All right. Yeah.
We have talked about.
All right. Interesting.
It is, isn't it? Because I mean, like I said, we have talked about this before.
Yes.
And I have been turning I have not lost sleep over it, but it has been on my mind a lot. Not so much recently, but for the last month, I'd say, because I have to say, the pleasure of getting introduced to the concept of what an open relationship is. And I've had conversations, with the people that was in this open relationship to try to get my head around it, and to really, really kind of dig into what it really is. And what really the construction of this relationship is, because it is so new to me, and I feel it was new to you too. So we were like really baffling and both going like, what you know, what is this, and what's really going on here behind the scene in a way. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you, or like I'll discuss a little bit today, because so the way that I've been, the way that I've had this explained to me by these people before. Mm-hmm. These people, it sounds like they're like aliens. Or not. Hello,
these people from this other planet.
The image froze.
Oh yeah, you froze too. So
hello.
I can hear you. I don't know if your internet connection isn't stable. What? Oh, internet.
Hey.
Okay.
You're back. Whew. I was like, hey.
Yeah, that was my internet.
Okay.
Doing something very weird. Hold on. Okay. Let me just double check for a second. We're still recording. Yep. Okay. Okay, well, all right, sorry. You said that you said that you wanted to talk or discuss about open relationships.
Yes. I think it's, first of all, I think it's a hot potato.
It is.
These days. You definitely want to like, everybody's talking about it, or like at least like it's getting more and more common in a way, or at least more talked about. People are more open about admitting or like saying that they are in one, and at least much more I feel now than ever before.
Yeah.
It could be just me being old and I don't know, I have no idea, but definitely I feel like this is something, a new concept that has come in that people now are embracing in their own individual terms, I guess. So it's just, and we've, like I said, we've had this conversation before, but I still feel like, because the way that I have then been introduced to the concept is that when there is like an overflow of love, that's why they want to share their love with other people, which sounds like a very noble thing to do or feel. It sounds very lovely to be able to having the willingness to share your love and your partner with somebody else. But what I don't understand, and this is like where it kind of gets very confusing for me, because, and then when I really start digging into, so how much are you actually willing to share of your partner with somebody else? Yeah. And then it's like, no, it's only sex. So I'm like, so what happened to all that fluffy love thing that you wanted to share? It's when so it's like, no, it's no sleeping over, it's no cuddly, it's no sweet talk or pillow talk or whatever. It is hardcore sex. So and that's it. And I'm like, but
I think that's not for every open relationship, though. Okay. I don't think for every open relationship it's just about sex.
Okay.
Maybe not. From the information of like open relationships, like people in it that I've gathered, right? For some, it's also just about not wanting to stop this feeling of love, not just wanting to keep it just for one person, but also wanting to give it to other people.
Yeah, but how much are they then willing to give to the other person?
Just their whole heart, right? But every person is different, so they're giving a different part to that person, right? That they might not give to the other person, or might not be able to give to the other person.
Yeah, but I'm just really trying to be concrete. Like, what? How does that look in a day? Like, would you then live with one person and live with another? I was like, how does this actually look like?
But I think how it looks like is so different for so many people that it is not just one way. it just really depends on the agreement, you know, that you make with your partner that you want to have an open relationship with. How the day looks just totally depends on the agreement that you made with each other. So like the answer to that, I think it can be so different. But what do you feel from the last time that we spoke? Because, you know, if it's been on your mind, what do you feel from the last time that we spoke? What new thoughts, what new questions, what new answers do you feel came through you?
Well, basically, I think for me, it sounds like it's an ego thing. We have an expression in Norwegian saying that vi vil ha I pose og sekk. That means
what? Say that again.
In Norwegian, we say you want something I pose og sekk.
So is that
bag and a bigger bag? I mean,
so wow. I was gonna say something totally different.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Pose og sekk pose is a small bag. Sekk is a bigger bag. So in Norwegian, we would say that you want something, and I mean you want both in a way. So you want like a safe relationship that is loving and that is comfortable, blah blah blah. And then you also want to be able to explore. When the lust takes you, you are then also allowed to go out and explore sexual fantasies with somebody else. And you want the safe relationship kind of thing. And for me, that sounds like very much an ego-based thing, because it sounds like, and in addition to that, it also sounds like lust and love are somehow mixed in this. It sounds like it's the same, because they say, oh, I love this person that I met in a nightclub last night. No, that is not love. That is lust. You know, love is something that you feel for a person that is, you know, it comes from a different place. You know, just wanting to. I mean, I could definitely fall in love or be like super intrigued by somebody by the way that they look and the way they talk and the way they make me feel, and it can feel like love because you're so intrigued by them. But knowing what love is, that is definitely not love. Come on. So it's just like, they want the love and the lust to get, like, they want it together and separately. And it's for me, it sounds like an ego thing. And then it's being presented to me as a love thing. And I'm like, no, because you're just giving me the breadcrumbs. You're not giving me, I mean, what you're really sharing is not love. It's basically body. It's physical, you know?
So I do agree, with the part of like that some might mix love and lust, that they might mix that, but I don't completely understand what you mean with ego. It is an ego thing. Can you explain it a bit more?
Because you want to be satisfied on all areas. You want to be satisfied in terms of having a secure and the love from your partner that you've been with for some time, and that security that brings to you. And you also in addition to that, you want to have the freedom to explore any type of lust you would have with any type of person that you would meet at any time. And for me, that sounds like it comes from some sort of ego place. It doesn't sound like it comes from love. It sounds like I want to be satisfied at any cost, kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it comes from love either. And I think I have to emphasize that this is my opinion. Yeah, but I don't know if it comes from ego. I think it comes more from past hurts, you know, from issues with abandonment. From the people that I do know that have an open relationship, when I look a little bit at their past, it many times seems connected that they have some past, you know, abandonment issues with their parents or something. And I feel many times this is connected to that, not being able to fully commit to one person, being afraid of that, of a past hurt. and then this concept of an open relationship get introduced, which seems like the ideal thing to kind of have to not face their hurt from the past, their wounds from the past. And I feel, and I'm not just basing it on one person, I'm basing it on a couple of people, and also a little bit of what I've read on this topic, that it many times is something with a trauma, with some kind of abandonment issues. And again, I emphasized, it's my personal opinion still, but I see some kind of pattern there.
Yeah. I mean, that's my conclusion as well, that there is some sort of, again, that avoidant attachment
Yeah, attachment, exactly.
that you are avoiding that complete secure, loving feeling. So it feels more secure to have it a little bit at distance.
Yep.
You know, because then you don't have to go all in, and and it seems to me like the goal is to not feel jealousy and not to feel so if your partner that you love is with somebody else, you don't care about it, you know, you're totally fine with it. So what you're actually trying to do is just basically remove the emotions of being attached to somebody.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's super interesting, because I'm like, you don't see this, you know, and I'm and it's like, I'm not saying to you, but of course, but I'm like, hypothetically, it's so avoidant, and it's and then they wrap it in as it in this fluffy air love velvet fluffy thing, and then it's really just being avoidant and not being able to receive love.
Oh damn it, I just wanted to say something. Okay, this is the alcohol that's doing not a good job on my brain. What did you just say a couple of words ago of oh goddamn, this alcohol.
Wrapping it in.
No, a little bit back.
Not being able to receive love, or to
Yeah, I totally got not what I wanted to say anymore. I totally lost that.
Sorry.
No, but it's not your fault. It's just this bottle of delicious wine with this mustache. It's fucking my brain up. What did I wanted to say? Well, it's not gonna come back like this.
Okay.
I felt like I had such a good thing to say though.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just blank at the moment.
That's right.
Let's see. Let's go. Yeah.
No, I think my whole point here is this, like, or at least my conclusion here to this whole concept is that it is something that is not right about it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like probably I feel like a dinosaur, because this is like a new thing and a lot of people are embracing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just me not getting it, but it still sounds like something is a bit off somewhere, and they are wrapping it into something fluffy and beautiful.
Right, I think I got it again. What I wanted to say. Yeah, this is like jealousy. Oh yeah, this is what. So jealousy, for example, like the emotions that you feel in a relationship. There are quite a lot of emotions, right? Like jealousy is one of them. And it does seem like they're trying to avoid and try to dampen those emotions, to not feel them at all.
Yeah.
To not feel jealousy at all by completely, you know, having multiple people that they could sort of be jealous about, so they can learn to cope better with it in a way, right? But I think I also said this in an earlier stage here in this conversation, that all emotions have a function. And trying to get rid of any emotions is really, it's not healthy, because they have a function. They're there for a reason. And jealousy is really, it's there for a reason, right? And if you dampen it, if you try to get rid of it, you are trying to get away from something. And yeah, I think I feel like I've not looked too much into it, to the extent of that there could be so much more around it, but it to me does seem more of the time that they are trying to get away from certain emotions that really hurted them, and they do want to be in a relationship, right? But they don't want to completely listen to those demons, to those voices, to those emotions that they have, and that they're really, really, really scared of them. And then an open relationship is a solution to not listen to them. Because actually jealousy, it's one of those things where you think like, what's the reason? Like, what's the function of it? But it actually helps you to stay alert. You know, when you feel jealous, you're like a little bit more alert, like, oh, okay, maybe I should pay a little bit more attention to that person.
Yeah.
So that person, he or she, is not running away from me. And in an open relationship, you kind of want it's sort of like, yeah, it's okay that they run away from me. So yeah, which kind of comes back to, again, like the attachment, that they don't feel comfortable with feeling attached to someone because they're trying to train themselves to be okay with someone running away from them.
Exactly. That's my conclusion on that as well.
That's interesting.
It is. That's why I want to bring this back up.
And it's a little bit troublesome in the way that it's sort of like more acceptable. Not like it's not acceptable, right? Not like I'm saying that you can't have an open relationship if you feel completely good with it. But it is more an acceptable form of walking away from your troubles. And I don't know if people are really made for an open relationship.
I don't know. I mean, the reasons, I mean, the excuses or whatever.
Exactly, because of those reasons why they're saying. I don't know if they're really made. I don't know if we're really. I'm not saying, like, of course you can say everyone, right? But I feel in general most don't. So yeah.
I mean, they are saying that we are conditioned to live the way that we live now. I mean, I'm not saying that we are with one partner all our lives. Obviously, very many of us are not. I mean, we try out a few before we kind of get married or whatever. Mm-hmm. But to me, it sounds like they are like, oh, the society has conditioned us to be with one partner our whole life and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but no, nobody, very few has been with one partner their whole life. I mean, unless you are born or got a relationship in the 50s. If you're born from, the 80s or 70s or whatever, you have not been with one partner your whole life unless you were, living in some sort of, enclosed group of people that would not allow it. So that whole argument where that the society has conditioned us to be with one partner is not really, I'm not buying it, because it has in some sense. And I'm like, whenever I'm not religious, right? So whenever I go to church and when I go to in particular weddings, and the priest is like talking about now two people will merge into one and whatever, and I'm like, oh, come on, we're not merging into one. That's never going to happen, and it's never been the point of marrying somebody. You're marrying somebody because you want to have a teammate, a life partner, as in we're a team in this, and are we going to build our life together? One person and one person does not make one and one makes two, and not one. It's very simple. So that whole Christian concept of merging, it for me is completely, I don't want to hear it. So it's not really that construct either, that society has conditioned us to be with one partner, because you can definitely be with one partner your whole life, your whole adult life, I should say. And be totally fine with it, because again, I'm like, so the challenges that you have, and because it also seems like, so they would not share their partner if the relationship is not good. They would only share their partner when the relationship is good. So I'm like, yeah, but here again, you keep biting yourself in the ass, because so you would share your partner when the relationship is good. So, but wouldn't that then provoke, so if you then shared it, you share your partner with somebody, wouldn't that then put you back into the loop of not being good? I mean, because we're not machines. We are feeling human beings, you know? And just that, I mean, is really the goal not feeling anything? I don't really understand why that should be a goal, you know?
That's not a good goal.
No. It's such a strange concept. And the more I think about it, the more things pop up in my mind. So, I mean, we can go on about this forever, but it's fascinating. And now when more and more people are embracing this, I just have to ask like the wider question, like where is our society heading if this is going now to be some sort of goal? Isn't that sad?
If that's going to be sort of like a standard, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a very healthy standard. Or like, do you know Esther Perel?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you do. Do you know that she's from Belgium?
No. I know that she has a funny accent, but I didn't know she was from Belgium. No, I thought she was from Israel or something. I thought she was from like Middle East.
I know. Well, no. So she's, I think, originally from Poland.
Right.
But she grew up in Antwerp, so here in Belgium, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good on you. Have you met her?
Sadly enough, no. But she would definitely be one of those people that I would would love to meet. Why did I bring her up?
Well, she has a lot of concepts on relationships.
For everyone listening, like she's definitely one of those people who, if you want to learn more about relationships, yeah, she's an expert. She knows what she's talking about because that's what she does. She's done that for decades of years. She's done that so long. But I think, this is sort of the thing I think that I was gonna touch upon, that whenever a relationship gets tough, and every relationship has those phases where you question things, the answer is not just to give up and to just go away. And I think if you have an open relationship with someone, that can more easily happen than that you want to work through the tough times. Because tough times, even just personally, tough times help to grow. They make you grow. And even in a relationship, if you don't work through them, you don't grow together as strongly as you could. And I think in a way that an open relationship could kind of like help you avoid those tough times, that you could go to the other partner and just kind of like forget about the other person, right? I don't think you're going to really experience the full experience of being together with someone in an open relationship. And I'm not trying to hate on open relationship. I'm sure for some people it can really work, but I just don't feel the same like you might feel, that it will be the answer to feeling the love that people seek actually in relationships. It's by taking the complete experience, the good and the bad. It's kind of like when you have a marriage, right, where you do this promise of like being there through sick times, through good times. It's kind of like that, right? You just be there for that person and really become a good team player together. Yeah. And you can't be a good team player unless you face bad times, really bad times.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's where an open relationship you can avoid that more.
And I'm also like really questioning, what is it that the person who is in a relationship is offering the third person? Like, what is it for real that they are offering? Because to me, it sounds like it's a very physical thing they're offering. They're not really offering anything else. It's like being somebody's mistress. And you don't really want to be the second choice all the time. I mean, no sane person would choose to be somebody's second choice. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least not in my world. And I would never choose to be somebody's second choice. I mean, I would never say yes to that. So then you agree. So when you then accept to be with somebody who is in an open relationship, you accept to be number two. And why on earth would anybody accept to be number two?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good feeling. I mean, and okay, and then you can say, all right, so maybe the only need I want this person to fulfill for me or give me is the sexual thing. Okay, fine. So okay, so maybe that can work if the only thing you want is sex. Because I think, to me, it sounds like the only thing that the person who's in a relationship is going to give you is the sex. They can't give you anything more because they are committed to the partner that they're already with. And what they really want is just to explore and do some kinky shit with somebody else, and then kind of, go back to their partner. So it's just really, it's also like, who is actually willing to accept the terms that this couple is giving you? What does that say about the person willing to accept it? I'm not saying it is anything bad. It's just that you have to be very aware that you are going into this, meeting the person that you're willing then to be with, who's already with somebody, knowing that it's only going to be physical, you're only going to be having the breadcrumbs or be number two.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are okay with that, well, why is that? Why are you okay with being somebody's number two? This is a hypothetical question. I'm not saying it's anything wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes from, again, to me, again, it sounds like this avoidant pattern is coming back. It's just coming from the other side this time, being the third partner or the third person coming into this whatever relationship or whatever. So it's just like avoidance meeting avoidance in a way, if you look at it from like a very over, perspective, looking in very objectively to what is actually going on. To me, it sounds like avoidance is meeting avoidance.
Yeah, and that's where I said, like, I personally do not know many open relationships that work in the long run.
That is actually my last point. Do they work? Has anyone ever succeeded?
Sure there are, like in a polygamous relationship where, well, but then it's like one guy, for example, who has like 3 wives or something, but
there is still a ranking within the women. There's number one wife,
yeah,
and number
there
3,
is,
and
even if I like, this could be such a personal and emotional topic for some people to listen to if they are in that, right? But there is naturally gonna be a ranking,
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to admit to that, the person who's ranking them, you're gonna have a favorite, you're gonna have a least favorite one.
Yeah.
You can still love them all, right? But you do have a number one in a way, right? Yeah. Yeah. And this is where I see the flaws of an open relationship, and where I do think it's more drawn on unresolved issues. Not to say that in a monogamous relationship you don't have issues, right? Because you have many.
Of course you do.
Of course, right? So, but I feel, it's another just form of other struggles, other issues of coping with them. I don't think it's a solution, because you're in a way either number one or number two, but you are not just completely with someone.
No, exactly. It would be so interesting to have someone else come in and join, or just have like a whole conversation just on this, just to get their point of view and to actually discuss it, like really.
There is actually on YouTube, it's I think this channel, it's called The End, like D and then End with AND. But they also just they just have conversations with one-on-one, but also group conversations where, I don't know if this is the right channel actually, but I can look it up. But either way, I do remember that I watched an episode of some channel where they invited people in a monogamous relationship and people in a polygamous relationship, and just threw questions at both of them, and where both of the parties answered those questions. But that was just one conversation, right? But I would love to see more. But there are things like that actually on YouTube.
Okay.
And yeah, many times you do hear the answer of the ones that we kind of touched upon, of the monogamous, like, yeah, I can't see myself sharing my partner with someone. And in polygamy, yeah, it's just like love that you want to expand to other people, but then
Yeah.
you don't hear the full context either, I think. So,
Mm.
and it's important to understand when you want to understand something, to hear the full context, otherwise you can't understand it, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's definitely more to it, like what we talked about here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating.
It is. And I'm kind of little bit, and I think like Bali is a good example where this is quite a more of a common thing, open relationships. I'm kind of not afraid, but kind of, I don't know, worried maybe for people to escape their demons through this, because it's never you're escaping, you're never fixing something.
Mm.
And in the long run, I don't think it's gonna play out right.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Of course somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, because we are still humans, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and that's where I think the part of jealousy, the one that there are so many times trying to avoid, is actually the one that they might want to listen to more,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're trying to avoid it. So maybe that's why they should listen to it more. But I think
Mm.
it's the one that is actually important to feel for them.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
All right.
my take on this.
Yes. All right. Moving on. I'm filling up my glass for the last time.
All right, let me fill mine up too, so I can ask you the final one that I have here of my questions.
Hang on. Just would you want to move your microphone a little bit to the side, because now it's focusing on that and your face is kind of blurry. All right. Good. Yes. Not blurry, but it's just like I feel like you're in the back of your microphone. All right. I want to see your face, not the.
What do you mean? My microphone is beautiful. Don't you want to just?
It is, but so are you.
I know. I should kind of figure out a better setup for my microphone to kind of maybe come
like
from
here
above. But I know it's kind of like in front of me, right? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What
yeah.
What about this?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh no.
No, I agree. Yeah. All right. This is a personal topic, a personal question. Let me just read it a little bit closer right now. So, all right, yeah. And I want to ask this question because we both, and I think you know what I'm going to ask, at least after this sentence now that I'm going to say. It's something that we both experienced in life. It's something that a lot of people will experience at some point in their life. So I think it could be very helpful, maybe for you and for me, to give some inputs on this. So what I want to ask is, like, what have you learned from losing someone? And losing someone, in this case, I mean your brother, right? Yeah, that's the first part of that question. Then I have another one, is how do you, but let me first let you answer that question. Like, what have you learned from this experience of losing your brother?
Ooh, what I've learned from it. Ooh, that's a big one. You saved the big one for last, huh? Oh, well, it's an interesting question, because I've asked myself that question a lot. You know,
okay.
What is it that I have learned from this, if anything at all? Because sometimes it feels completely meaningless to have lost somebody. You know, it hasn't given me anything. other than just complete heartbreak and sorrow and grief and endless sleepless nights and sorrow and buckets of tears, you know. So it's just when I have better days and I'm trying to look at, I mean, the positive. I don't want to use the word positive either, because it doesn't resonate with me, but useful probably is a better word. And
that's the better one. Yeah,
that is what you're asking too. So so I don't know if I can even answer that, but what I can tell is that.
Do you feel okay talking about this, by the way?
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I don't want to.
It's just very. It's a big question, right? So
Yeah,
it's really.
it is.
I kind of have to take it. It's like a process to kind of get to the answer, I guess. But I definitely feel it has given me the opportunity to have genuine compassion with somebody else who has lost somebody.
Yep.
Which makes me a person they would come to when they have experienced this, which is a very nice feeling, you know, to be able to be there for somebody who really don't have anyone else to go to talk to, because a lot of people would avoid talking about this at any cost, especially those who haven't experienced it. So when you have the experience firsthand, at least you can be a resource for somebody who's just going through this, you know. And I think that is nice in a very ironic way that you can share, you know, you can understand how the process that they're going through, the emotions that are running through their bodies at all, you know, types of, you know, time, or, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, I think that is a nice thing. But other than that, I really don't. And it's also a little bit maybe about that whole gratitude thing, living in the moment, and trying to make the most of life. I think, I mean, I've always had that feeling, but after I lost my brother, I definitely got a wake-up call in terms of, all right, life is happening right now, you know. And so, but I've always, you know, had the thought, like, if an opportunity came to me, I would always consider it. You know, sometimes, most of the times I would say yes. But after this, I would definitely, you know, still have that very much in my consciousness in terms of, you know, this is an opportunity I want to take. Very often it would be. And just going, just being grateful for it, and just, you know, because losing somebody gives your life an automatic depth that you didn't have before. And that depth is actually valuable.
Can you for a second give some context to like when you lost your brother?
So it's just that, because it is so easy to go through life and not really reflect on what's important and what gives you meaning and what makes you happy. I mean, a lot of people that I know, it sounds really sad when I say it, but it seems like they just live on the surface, you know. They just kind of go like, woo, 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 you, and they don't really reflect on what's going on behind the curtains, or on a deeper level. And if you ever try to bring up something in a conversation that is a little bit uncomfortable, they would basically just scoop it under the carpet or not even talk about it, and they just kind of like go back up to the surface because that's where it's more comfortable. But when you have lost somebody, you are forced to not be comfortable. You're forced down on a level that you don't really want to be, but you have to feel the deepest, the worst, the saddest emotions that you can actually feel. Feel them. So whether or not you want to have more depth in your life or your perspective on life, you will automatically get it because you have to, you're pushed down there somewhere, somehow. So, but of course, then people can bounce back up to the surface because they don't want to be down there. So that journey that you were on.
Yep.
While you were in that kind of dark place, I think that will give you more fulfillment, or give you more joy in a way. Because then you feel, at least for me, then when I really feel happy and joyful, I really, really feel it. I'm like, I really, really.
You have something to compare it to.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes a lot of people do not have.
Yeah. So I think, that must be probably one of the few things I can take out of this.
I'm going to ask it again. I don't know if you are comfortable or okay with answering it, but I asked it, like, what age were you when you lost your brother?
I was 21.
21, yeah. Yeah, so that's been a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, no, it's been a few, but it's it's crazy, what life has been without him, because it's something, of course, that I didn't expect. And it has also actually made me realize, or discover rather, the difference between depression and sorrow.
Can you explain?
Those two things are very, very different. For instance, and I tried to explain this. I explain this to my therapist at one point, because when I first sought therapy, it was a few years after my brother died, and all the therapists that I went to, not all of them, but I went to like 2 or 3.
All of them in the world.
Like 100. I was like, I've been to like therapy my whole life. I haven't, but the ones I went to, because it didn't work, and I will tell you in a second why it didn't work. Because the ones that I didn't work with, they jumped to the conclusion that I was struggling with something with my brother. And then I told him, like, what I'm struggling with right now has nothing to do with my brother. It might be in the mix somewhere, but that is not the main course of why I'm sitting in front of you, why I'm seeking therapy. And then they were kind of like thrown off a little bit, because they had then, I don't know how therapists work, but then they seem like they have already programmed what the sessions were going to look like, almost like how the treatment was going to be, because they were basing it on this has to be something that I'm working something with my brother. And then when I told them this is nothing to do with him, and I'm pretty sure that it really didn't, because I know how it feels, because depression is something that goes on in the head. I can feel it in my head much more. It's up here. Sorrow is down here in the heart. And that is two very different feelings, mental states, almost. Oh, totally.
I mean, like, sorrow is like a deep sadness, You could say it's like the next level of sadness.
Yeah.
But why do you feel like it didn't have to do anything with your brother?
Because what I was seeking therapy for at the time had nothing to do with him, because I didn't think about him when I was there, because I was, like, as my doctor said, lightly depressed. Because she had filled in some sort of form that concluded that I was lightly depressed. So I was like, okay, in terms of I didn't sleep and I didn't eat, and I, she ticked all these boxes. I don't know what it was. It didn't feel very, I don't know, it's just a very strange way of reaching the conclusion. But
well, yeah, it's not just only about checking boxes off, but there are there are signs, right? There are signs, but it's of course not just alone about checking boxes off. That's true.
No. But no, anyway, but the thing is, when I finally found a therapist that I wanted to work with, which was a psychodrama therapist, which is
Psychodrama,
yeah, it's the most amazing way of therapy, and it was absolutely the one that worked for me more than just sitting having a conversation with a normal psychiatrist, or psychologist. So whenever when I have the therapy with her, we didn't talk about me losing my brother, because I knew that wasn't really the problem. We were talking about my childhood, because that was where the shit happened, and that was what I was struggling with, and that was why I was depressed. That I lost my brother was just an extra thing that came on top, but that I was grieving him.
The bucket was already filling before you lost him too, and he was just another drop, probably a big drop, right? But he was another drop.
He was a tsunami in the bucket, but the bucket was already definitely full.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was interesting. So actually, I used him as as part of trying to heal a lot of the trauma that I was going through. Because what we did was because I freaked out. I remember specifically one session where we talked about something very important to me just before the session was over. And I almost had some sort of anxiety attack just before I went out the door. And she was like, and I was like, I cannot go back on the street right now because I feel so fragile. I'm gonna crash at some point. And she goes like, all right, so go back down, sit down in the chair. And then she had like, okay, so if your brother was here, what would you tell him? And then we had like a mirror conversation thing where she would be my brother, and then we were like, I was like having a conversation with him. So instead of going into that whole thing, I miss him so much, I then used him as a resource for what I think he would have told me if I told him my issues. And then he would then say to me, hey sister, this is going to be fine, you're just having a whatever breakdown, this is whatever he would say, right? So I actually used him as a resource to kind of calm myself down, and then being able to get the anxiety down, and then be able to go back out into life.
This is sort of like the thing, because many times people, when you're moving through a trauma, they think it's just in your minds alone. It's one part, but then also the body part, moving through it, which is through the body, right? It's really a thing that you also have to do. But yes, like sort of like scenarios, like another person playing someone like your brother, for example, it's really powerful actually to heal or to say things that you haven't said, for example, and to move through that, or to be able to use that person as a resource, for example. So it's super powerful, and that's a good way, because you're using your body, and many times it's the mind and the body, those both together, that you can get over something like a trauma. Yeah. All right. So and well, the question together with that was like, how do you cope with losing someone today?
Well, I mean,
I'm laughing because it's such a hard.
It's a very hard question.
And I am not just. I mean, I know what it kind of feels, right? Feels like, so yeah.
No, but I mean, I've had this question asked to me before, and I mean, what? I don't even know how to phrase this. The only, I think, thing that, so when you have lost somebody and it feels horrible and you don't really see the light in the tunnel, and you think, that you're never going to laugh again. You think that you're never going to feel joy again, or you're never going to feel anything that has to do with pleasure or anything, you know, when it's really that dark.
Yeah.
What I can say is, and this goes for, I would say 99% of the people that has lost somebody, that time will heal the sorrow, you know. It will be better in time, you know. You just have to give yourself the time to grieve and cry and scream and go to therapy and do all the things that you need to do to get yourself out of the tunnel, because there is a light in the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Even though you can't see it, and you might take you a long time before you see the light in the end of it, but there is a light. And even though you don't believe it, you just have to know that it's there, because it is possible to have a good life after you've lost somebody, even though, you know, you feel at the moment that it's impossible to have a life without your partner or whoever it is that you've lost. It is actually possible. The thing is that you still feel all the things that you felt before. It's just that you just have a little part of your heart that is, you know, a sorrow, and you will carry that with you all the time. So even though you feel like this enormous amount of joy, you will still do that, but you will still, of course, have a piece of your heart that is carrying that little grief or that little sorrow, and that, you know, that you miss the person that you have lost. But you can still feel the whole rainbow of experiences and emotions on the good side. Yeah. So you will still feel the joy. It just feels a little bit different. That's all.
This is like such a common answer. I think, like for most when they went through this and lost someone to say, but it's common because it's true. And it's hard to realize when you just lost someone, right? So, but it is true. But the hard part is giving time the opportunity to heal it to some degree. But the whole, you know, of having lost someone is always going to be there. It's, you know, it's never going to be filled up in a way, right? You're always going to have lost your brother. You know, you've always going to lost whoever, right? It's always going to be there. So I think if I could just share with you what it's going to be a little bit similar in some ways. But so first, like what I've learned from losing someone, and that someone is like my dad then, is, and like it is quite similar. So it's quite interesting to also let me confirm again, like what you've sort of said, but and it's not like I would wish someone to lose a person, you know, like that pain to go through that. I would never want to wish that upon anyone. But what it did definitely teach me that I do feel sometimes people don't completely get when they haven't lost someone is just the fact that life ends. And I feel like my dad definitely taught me that lesson that, you know, life is ticking away slowly. You never know when it's going to end. Could be any age, could be so random. So just, you know, live life right now as much as you can, do what makes you happy. And it's can end anytime. And that lesson has really helped me to do quite a lot of what I've done in life, of like the travels that I've done. And so I'm very happy for that lesson, actually. So I think that's what I learned from losing someone. So it's kind of like the same what you said of not taking things for granted. And I think in the way of like how I cope with it is to kind of truly understand that life is not fair. And, you know, everyone goes through hard times. Everyone has some kind of unfairness to them. It's just how life is. Life is just not fair. And maybe it's not helpful for some, but it's helpful for me to just acknowledge that, yeah, life is not fair. It's just how it is. And then to mainly focus on the lesson that it taught me. That is how I am sort of able to cope with it. To just focus on what my dad through that has taught me. You know, to not take things for granted and to sort of like try to live as much as I can now. That's how I'm able to cope with it. But again, the whole that it creates, it's there. It's always gonna be there. And it's sort of accepting the fact that it's gonna be a part of you now. And that's not easy, but you learn to deal with it after a while. You learn to acknowledge that it's a part of you. And that's sort of the thing that I said at first, that life is not fair. You know, you didn't want this, you didn't ask for it, but it is how it is now. So that is my answer to those questions.
Yeah. But now, just when we were talking about it and talking about what we talked about earlier, so by you driving yourself, up the wall with, work in terms of that you sometimes overdo it, can this have something to do with it, you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be a factor in it, but I wouldn't say it's the direct link to it.
Okay.
I think the direct link to that of like wanting, like overworking, is more my own, more thinking that I should be more. So it's more to do with self-esteem and thinking less of myself and comparing myself. And everyone compares himself or herself to someone, right? Even if you like, it's impossible. And it's actually quite normal as a human being to compare yourself and to not just settle for less. It's quite a normal behavior. And I even like, they did once, like psychologists once did like a research or like an experiment on this, where they texted, I don't know the exact number of people, but where they texted X amount of people for several months. Just, how are you doing? What are you doing right now? And give me a rating from 1 to 10, how you're feeling. And basically what they came to figure out through this is that everyone is basically a 7. Everyone is basically feeling not completely happy all the time, but not completely unsatisfied either. But sort of between, wanting to improve and kind of feeling good. And it's quite a human behavior to kind of want to be more. And so the thing of comparison is quite a natural human behavior in a way. It's just that right now it's too much, right? We're doing it too much. But so it like in that way, even if you don't subconsciously compare yourself constantly, you're still doing it. What would it? Unconsciously, you're still doing that because it's just human to do that. But I think the link is not per se my dad's. I think he created some other things, like more like relationship issues. But that link of overworking comes more from just self-hatred from in the past, and from just comparing myself to do more. From people who are doing more, and that I'm not doing anything, but I'm watching a Netflix show, and that I should be doing more then. So that's more there, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But again, I'm not saying he wouldn't have played some kind of maybe role in it, but I don't think it's the dominating one in it, in that particular thing. Yeah.
All right.
So on your list, is there anything else, or were that the questions?
No, for this session, I think it's okay. I think we could go on for hours more.
I mean, we totally could, and we should at some other points.